welcome to the Lobby, GameSpot's weekly video game chat show every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific right here on GameSpot.com. I say every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific. We won't be here next week because the Electronic Triple is happening. Justin Haywald.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. Good to have you back on the set here.
Oh, I can't wait for E3.
I know, TikTok. We're like 4 days away from getting on planes, trains, and automobiles down sound. Actually, no, Kevin Van Ord's not here anymore, so nobody's taking a train. Isn't that right, Peter?
That's correct, Danny.
The verbal call out for your name is for our wonderful friends listening in their podcast ear holes. And they're going to be listening for quite a while today because we've got a bunch of sections on. We've also got a bunch of interesting accents for them on today's show as well because our UK and Australian colleagues are in the office this week.
For a second, I thought I hadn't prepared.
Yeah.
My oeuvre of...
Did you not listen last week when we all talked about like Christopher Walken for the first 10 minutes of the show?
Did.
Yeah. So that's what we want you to do again. We're going to talk about Microsoft. We're going to talk about Sony. We're going to talk about Richard almost dropping the camera. We're going to talk about Nintendo, Bethesda, Ubisoft, EA, Take-Two, and Activision on today's show, and all of the sort of things we think are going to be talked about, and then some rumor control. And actually, before we jump into that, we've had a couple of rumors already today get leaked or just appear on the internet. I guess the big one is the Watch Dogs 2 thing. IGN front page takeover of their site. NeoGAF spotted it.
I mean, if the internet were a ship, it would be just at the bottom of the ocean at this point because it's sprung so many leaks. and yeah, I mean, Watch Dogs 2, after initially being revealed,
right?
Like, oh, okay, yeah. So Watch Dogs 2 is coming, guys. It's okay. And now here's the release date, and it's set in San Francisco. And here's some other details. Oops, we had that marketing thing go out a little bit early.
What was did you spot the release date? Do you remember what it is?
November?
Okay, I'll check it up in a second. And then the other thing as well, African-American protagonist, and then set in San Francisco. It looks like as well Golden Gate Bridge in the background, so that sounds cool, right?
Sure.
It's a good spot.
I mean, you have to have the Golden Gate
fit.
Bridge. Like any movie, it wouldn't be San Francisco without the Golden Gate Bridge, even though I think I've crossed it maybe twice my entire life.
Yeah, not often do we need to just hang out in Sausalito. But yeah, kind of a good fit considering, this is the tech hub of the world, right? Like if you're in Watch Dogs, no offense to Chicago, but maybe works a little bit better here.
Yeah, I think, but how are they going to utilize that, right? Is it just dressing or... I mean, I don't know.
They're going to go to Google. They're going to go to Facebook. Yeah. It's just going to have this whole coalescence of technology in the Bay Area.
Can you hack the real estate market?
Go to Airbnb. You have Airbnbs you can stay at.
I mean, if they're able to jump into the whole social strata and gentrification and all that sort of stuff, then that'd be pretty cool. I guess we'll find out pretty soon. Another one that leaked then, I guess, pretty recently, was it Injustice 2? There's some sort of screenshot, I think.
A poster, I think.
Right.
A Batman facing off against the Flash. And we've heard inklings of this for a while. It's not a surprising thing. The Injustice comic series has only recently come to an end, but it's something that's kind of ripe for a next iteration in that cycle.
The date for Watch Dogs 2 is November 15th as well, which is on a Tuesday. So, yeah, there you go. Tuesday, maybe 3 days later for Europe. Okay, let's jump into one of the many sections that we have outlined today. First of all, gentlemen, Microsoft. Let's talk about Microsoft. They always do their press conference. It's like first thing on the Monday, right? In the morning.
Yep, their traditional time.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of software stuff. First of all, though, let's talk about the hardware. Project Helix. Peter, what is this? Bunch of different consoles.
Yeah.
What do we think we're going to see at E3?
So if I remember correctly, it's 2 consoles. One that should be coming out sooner, which is sort of like a lightweight version of the Xbox One.
Like a mini or something.
Yeah. And then a more powerful version in 2017. That's the rumor, right?
Scorpio is what they're calling that one. Yeah. So apparently
they should keep. You shouldn't
just
change
call it
the name.
Xbox Scorpio.
Xbox Scorpio? It's badass.
I mean, I hope that because we've got a bet on that if it's called the Xbox 2, I have to shave my head, right?
If any iteration is called the Xbox 2.
Any iteration ever. Okay, that's fair.
No. Within the Xbox One's life cycle.
Okay.
But if it's not, I have to shave my beard.
I mean, if you shave your beard.
That was agreed upon. I mean,
okay.
No, I mean,
that's fair.
We did not agree upon that.
Oh, did we not?
No,
we can do that right now, though.
That'll mark if that happens. That'll mark the second time I've shaved my beard. Presumably, it will be on camera
for
GameSpot.
For GameSpot. Yeah. You did for Extra Life last year, 2 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, you baby faced assassin. So Xbox Scorpio, the one looks like a sizable increase in power over the original Xbox, over the Xbox One. Now I'm doing it. And then there also was sort of rumors of a Xbox One streaming stick set top box kind of thing.
Let me tell you what I think that is.
Right.
That is probably a a way to let you, because Microsoft is always talking about bringing the Xbox One and PC markets together.
Yes.
And let's be frank, they're not going to really do that wholeheartedly, but a stick that allows you to stream from your PC to your TV, branding it the Xbox, is a really good way to kind of attach that brand to PC gaming in a soft move.
Yeah, so sort of like a Chromecast kind of thing, you could imagine, yeah. I mean, that was the whole point of the Xbox in the first place, right? Microsoft wanted to get inside of the living room, and we've talked before about Steam boxes and that sort of weird battle that's happening about PC trying to get in the room, that room. I mean, Microsoft already owned the PC market, essentially, gaming market, and then they already are in living rooms, so it kind of makes a good fit, right? Maybe they can attack it from that side.
And especially because you don't need things like the Kinect to do this voice-activated connectivity. That's something that's just built into Windows 10. You have Cortana, and just bringing that to more technologies. You'd definitely be able to do that with a streaming box and have that same functionality that you get with Kinect.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I feel like we've seen these things pop up in various different iterations for the past couple of years. Would it be weird that Microsoft might be the one to pull it off, or do you think they're a good fit?
They're a good fit to experiment in that space because I think they need to differentiate themselves right now. I think if you ask most people in a battle between Microsoft and Sony, in the traditional consoles that they have currently available, Sony is kind of on top, both in sales numbers, and I think even if you look at the track record of games over the past year or two, Sony is probably tracking higher than them. So if they were able to do this move, I think that would be the smart way for them to say, hey, we're different. We're not just another one of these trying to compete.
But they have to announce a more powerful console as well, because if they're going up against PlayStation 4, headlines will just be dominated with, here's the PS4.5, more powerful, bigger, stronger, and here's the Xbox, less powerful kind of streaming thing. Like they need that mind share of, and we also have our bigger, beefier guy that you're going to play with.
They also need to talk about these things because all of the discussions that are happening, all the hype around this, like the expectations.
Yeah.
If this is all wrong and they actually didn't have plans to talk about it and they don't say a peep, the internet's going to be really upset.
Yeah, and Microsoft are very, very gun shy about making a bad impression at E3 because they've basically spent 2 or 3 years trying to fix that now at this stage. It's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, an opportunity for them to flip the script completely if they come out with Scorpio and it ends up being much more powerful than a 4.5. Like, that would really make things interesting. Let's talk about software, though. Consoles are nothing without the games that are getting played on them. Some of Microsoft's, I guess, staples are reappearing this year. First of all, Gears of War 4. We're hopefully going to see more of that. Did you guys impressed by the demo at all that they showed last year? I remember thinking it was really dark and I wasn't really into it at all.
It's hard to tell what was going on. I think Remastered was well received. It's nice to go back to that world. I'm interested to see what they'll do with Gears of War 4 now, like bringing that series forward. But it's also interesting because we didn't get a Gears of War Remastered for 2 or 3. We just got that first one.
Yeah.
So I'm not totally sure how they're going to slot that into the overall story. Is that something that people even care about with Gears of War? Will it be like Doom? Doom, I think, was kind of a surprise hit out of nowhere that was just like visceral gameplay that's super fun. Maybe Gears of War could latch onto that same kind of feeling, and it would be really cool.
I'm a little bit reticent to start, I guess, criticizing or worrying about games because of their multiplayer betas, because Doom was an exact example of how wrong my expectations were coming out of that. Did either of you guys play the beta for Gears of War multiplayer, though? Gears of War 4 multiplayer? Yeah. I played a little bit of it, and in a way it felt like exactly like Gears of War multiplayer has always been, and in a sort of a frustrating way, or like an uninspiring way. So I guess I hope that's not the case for the single player campaign. Moving on, Crackdown 3. Peter, I want to talk to you about this a little bit because Crackdown 3, they showed off a demo of it a couple of years ago, and they sort of briefly showed this like cloud, I guess, physics processing aspect of the game. You've seen a lot more of that now, right? So you were talking about it very excitedly.
Yeah, I played a live demo at Gamescom last year in Germany, late summer, and it's essentially like, okay, everyone is playing in the cloud, and in the cloud we have multiple like Xbox equivalents stacked together. Yeah. And using all that processing power, the entire environments were destructible. And it was just insane to see not only that happen, but how players playing on different consoles could influence that. And I've never seen tech like that on a console before. And granted, it wasn't playing from the console, but that was my gateway to it. Yeah. And
so as far as you're concerned, it was just running on your machine and all these buildings were falling down, right? It was like realistically...
Not just falling down, but like different aspects of them were shattering based on what you did to cause that impact.
Right.
And it was the most impressive piece of technology I've seen on a console ever.
That's incredible.
So, it might depend on your connection. Who knows?
Yeah.
Might depend on a lot of factors, but what I saw was great.
I bet Microsoft are going to be very, very careful in their use of the C word.
I know.
Cloud has kind of become this sensitive topic. It sort of harpens back to the Matrix era as well, which I feel like they're trying to get away from.
Yeah.
Interesting though. Crackdown 1, fantastic game. Crackdown 2, maybe a little bit too quick off the heels to really get people sort of excited about it. But yeah, I think fans would be looking forward to a new Crackdown. A game we've barely seen much of at all, Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
This sort of, it looks like an MMO style pirate thing. Any interest in that at all? We're probably going to see it this year.
We need to see more of it. And I was kind of taken with Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That was a game that surprised me with how much I enjoyed that whole ocean warfare aspect of it and like living on the high seas. And Sea of Thieves seems like it could tap into that same feeling of being a seaman out on the ocean.
We all love seamen.
But it would be a lot of fun. I think it has the potential to be a lot of fun. Seaman notwithstanding.
I've also heard rumors of, I guess the Battletoads thing's been floated around for a little while.
Yeah.
Any interest in that at all?
Yeah, if they can capture what those games did so well, which includes bringing back David Wise to do the soundtrack,
right?
They could make something really fun in their hands. But
what they did so well was make you hate playing video games and want to destroy your controller. Cry a little bit in the corner.
Those games were so odd and just out there, and they didn't really make much sense when you compared it to like the rest of the stuff around it. And it's a good opportunity for them to recapture that. But as we're seeing with like a lot of games that are trying to recapture nostalgia, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it.
Yeah,
and it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, for every DuckTales, there's a Doom.
Yeah.
I guess. Speaking of controllers, new Xbox One controller, a lot of people saying that now that the Elite has sort of gone out there and sold, that some of that tech might be rolled back into a new Xbox, especially if they're a new Xbox controller, especially if they're going to release a slim version, right? They usually sort of update those SKUs a little bit.
I actually don't put a lot of faith into that particular rumor.
Really?
It seems like you do have the two different types of controllers. You have your standard controller and you have this really nice high-end one. And I think they'll continue keeping that separation. I don't know that the high-end controller is necessarily sold that well. It's at a price point that's enough for me to even bulk out a little bit. But it is a really cool controller. And I think those two ideas will stay separate.
One of the things that will hopefully save people money, perhaps, over time is the sort of increased support for PC that we're sort of seeing on the Xbox One platform. Perhaps they'll dive into, we're seeing a lot of like walls coming down in terms of online connectivity between the PC and the console and other consoles as well. And then I guess with something like Quantum Break, where that was originally an Xbox One exclusive and then it came out day and date on PC. Is this something you think we're going to see more and more of, Peter?
They definitely said that they will be putting every Xbox One exclusive on PC
from
now on. So that's a thing. Like, yes, we will see more of that. And just going back to what I was saying earlier about the PC to, a stick streaming on your TV.
Yeah.
I think that will be I really do think that they're going to do that. If they don't, that seems just like an obvious missed opportunity to me.
There was rumors on the Giant Bombcast last week, I think, of Halo 5's campaign being playable on PC, that Microsoft were doing tests internally up in Seattle, because they did release Forge mode on PC or something, but the actual campaign itself. So that would be interesting. I wonder if that's probably not the best example of a game they would want to be pulling over onto PC, but
I just love how like Halo is like a thing. It's like, maybe we can get it on PC. Who knows? It's like, why wouldn't you just put it on PC? What is your problem? Just do it.
Forza as well, another one we've seen this sort of little PC snippet they're putting together. Forza Horizon 3, a lot of people saying that that's a dead on this year, that it might be set down under. We don't have any of our Australian colleagues in here to give us the scoop on that, but what do you think about that one? I mean, Forza seems to be like an annual thing for Microsoft at this stage.
Yeah, at this point, and I think it's a Horizon year, isn't it? That's
you
one
go
after back and forth. It's like you can set your calendar by Call of Duty, so it seems like a good guess. For me personally, not something that's the most exciting, both because it is annual and because I'm not as big of a racing guy. I know you're super into F1 and all the racing games.
But but even for me, it straddles that line of the sim and the arcade in a way that I've played sort of enough of those games. Andy Bauman, who used to work here, was a massive fan of the Forza Horizon games. I think he wanted to give Forza Horizon 2 Game of the Year if he had his way. So there is a market for this. People are really into it, and the Tuscan sort of the world of Forza Horizon 2 really look great as well for that console, which is very important to them. That's kind of all the Microsoft rumors that I have here. You guys have anything else you're thinking about, or
something that we saw leaked today? You don't know how much credence to give it, but images of a Dead Rising 4.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, I could see that. I mean, it'll definitely be another Xbox One PC exclusive. seems believable.
Totally. I mean, it's been, if there was a launch title, Dead Rising 3 was. So, I mean,
They've had a lot of time to make that engine better, to make a better experience. Because Dead Rising 3 wasn't the system seller.
No,
I wasn't super excited about that one.
I actually went back and played it when I got my wisdom teeth taken out a couple of months ago. And
that made it so much better.
But it was surprising how it looks like an early console life cycle game, so and at that stage you were sort of lauding the fact that there was all of these zombies on screen, and really when you go back and play it you're like whatever. We now, like, Hitman is a game I was playing last weekend, and that's got way better crowd dynamics. So
speaking of games making a comeback, what if we see a new Sunset Overdrive? I'm sorry, my phone is ringing.
Oh great, who's that? Is that Microsoft Insider?
Yeah. Shut up. I would love to see Sunset Overdrive return.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. If they announce Sunset Overdrive 2, that might be the one game that I think would really get people excited, rather than like a Gears of War 4 and another Forza and just all these we've seen that. Sunset Overdrive is one of those games where, like, when it goes on sale for like $15, you see people on Twitter like, I know you didn't play this game.
Yes.
You have no reason not to play it at this price.
I was one of those people and played it for the first time again during Wisdom Tooth time, and was totally shocked at how it's best in class for those types of games, for that type of like infamous, open world jaunting, like Crackdown style. Yeah. At the very least, they should release it for PC.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy that they haven't done that already.
I agree.
Cool. So that's all our Microsoft rumors. If you have any of yourself, or if there's anything that you are particularly interested in, let us know in the comments below. All right, gentlemen, let's move on. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Sony PlayStation. It was GDC that all the rumors started floating around about the PlayStation Neo, the 4.5, this updated version of the PlayStation 4. Since then, it seems like everyone and their mother has had a leak coming out of somewhere about this console. So before we get into their games and their virtual reality stuff, Justin, first of all, PlayStation 4.5 pretty much dead on to be shown at E3?
It has to, right? You've had so many leaks, you've had so much information come out. E3 is the perfect time to introduce a new console like this, and it feels like it's about time in that console life cycle that you have a really high adoption for PlayStation 4. They're the dominant console by hands down. What's a way that you can get a little bit more subscribers, get more people playing it, have a slightly more powerful system, and something that's going to play into VR? Like, you need something that will probably support virtual reality in a better way. Because I think when they were showing the virtual reality systems, it's needed some kind of pass-through otherwise.
So everyone always talks about that, and maybe I'm misinformed, but from what I understand, that box does not do any actual processing, like the way we traditionally think about CPUs and GPUs doing stuff. From what I think Sony has said, that box is there to handle communication of data.
Okay.
So not the actual processing.
It's like routing data or something? Right, okay.
Yeah, so that would include audio and video that needs to go to the headset.
Right.
It can't just be a straight cable.
Yeah.
In that regard. So while I don't think that if there is a follow-up PlayStation 4 that it might help VR, I don't think that it's going to be like, this is the one for VR. It would be like we would see with regular games. They would just see an incremental improvement. Based on the rumors anyway.
The thing I think is really interesting with this is it's not different to get a new console in the middle of a life cycle. We've gotten the Xbox 360S back in the day.
Yeah.
You get smaller versions of consoles that are usually incrementally more powerful, but
totally.
This is
PS1, PlayStation 3.
Nintendo 64 is the only console I can think of. That and the Saturn and the Dreamcast. That did not get like new versions of consoles.
Yeah.
But this is one where they're specifically, or people are really highlighting, this is a more powerful version. It is the same console, it'll play the same games, but it's also going to be a better console. And that's a really interesting tactic. Of course, it's not marketing. That's not what they're going for.
Yeah.
This is what's leaked out. This is what we're latching onto. And so it'll be interesting to see how they spin that as well.
Yeah, totally. Do you think this is like the new normal, Peter, where like instead of us having these sort of, incremental SKUs, which obviously change elements of the console based on, the parts that they're buying, for instance, and whatnot. But do you think the idea of this sort of incremental, like within the same generation console is something we're used to on the PC side? Do you think that's the way we're going to see it going from now on?
I mean, possibly. We think of generations in terms of like these, rightly so, like, big chunks of time, right? If Sony was to come out with a PlayStation 5, just play devil's advocate, we wouldn't then say this is a next generation PlayStation 5, right?
Right.
So if we look at it that way, like, I think eventually we will see a PlayStation 5, but will it be such a big leap from what we think the Neo is, or what might be a follow-up to the Neo before the PlayStation 5?
Yeah.
No, I think we're going to see these smaller upgrades over time persist, but we will still latch on to the concept of this is a new era of something, but the days of these huge gaps and technological performance between hardware iterations, I think, is done.
Yeah.
Nintendo has done a great job with that, with the 3DS in particular, but before the 3DS, the Game Boy Advance, and like how all of those bled into one another. You were always able to play your back catalog of games on the new system. And then when they came up with another version, it would cut out some of the backwards compatibility, but introduce new functions for new games.
Yeah, get punished for holding on to that Game Boy Micro. I mean, it's basically the same we've seen in, Apple phones and, I guess phones just in general and tablets and whatnot. So it'll be very interesting to see the specs. I mean, that's what everyone wants to see, right? Xbox One's new specs, the Scorpio and 4.5. Stepping away from that hardware into Sony's other hardware thing, the PlayStation VR, previously known as Project Morpheus, the second in the trifecta of Matrix-themed hardware iterations we're going to enjoy. Where are we, do you think, with PlayStation VR, right? Because we're now living in a post-Oculus, post-HTC Vive world where people have gotten hands on it. It seems like there was a lot of interest there for a while, and we're kind of tapering off again, where some people have bought them and they're now trying to get them in front of stores to get people to buy them. What do you think about interest over PlayStation VR, Peter?
The advantage they have, one is cost. Two is the ubiquitous, number of PlayStations that are out there. But the real thing for me are the sort of the properties that will be used to create VR games. Whereas a lot of the games that we're seeing on Vive and Oculus are these new things that no one really understands. Like, who are these characters? What is this world? PlayStation VR will be able to leverage Sony's great history of titles, and not that I'm counting this among the great history of titles, but you see the horror game that they're putting on that sort of the on rails.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't think of
we're
the
good
name.
at our job.
Until Dawn, right?
Yeah, From Until Dawn. Thank you.
Yes.
And Psychonauts is getting a thing, and that's not necessarily a Sony property or one that was ever exclusive to their consoles, but
Rush of Blood,
sure, yeah. So, but yeah, I think that they'll be leveraging familiar properties to get people interested into it. I don't think we're going to see many grand experiences. I just recently finished playing Insomniac's Edge of Nowhere.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which I believe was made in tandem with Oculus Studios. So that won't be coming to PlayStation VR. But that was one of the first VR experiences that I played where it felt like a full game. Like Chronos was there as well.
Yeah.
It's a really good game. But there was something about Edge of Nowhere that felt even more advanced in that regard and providing the full experience. So I don't know if we're going to get a lot of that sort of thing out of Sony. I think that will take another year or so.
Or even be able to play experiences that we already have in VR. And Uncharted 4, it seems like it might be a weird fit for VR. But when I think about like being able to pull back the camera and see all around the world, because they put so much time and attention and care into these huge environments and expanses, like it would be so cool to have like a little Nathan Drake running along on the table, and I can look over and see this huge statue in the forest.
Yeah.
Sort of like what they do with like the Hitman Go and Lara Croft Go stuff, but like for
totally
non proper. Yeah.
I mean, at a certain stage, even if there's just a virtual reality option that isn't like super, I mean, you need to have your sort of
Tekken 7 is supposed to have it.
Great. Can't wait. I'm sure actually there would be an audience for that, but just not for me. Let's talk about, I guess, the other aspect of that. We talked about it with our Microsoft discussion, which you can also check out if you're watching this on GameSpot or YouTube. Go check it out. We also sort of talked about how, what happens with Sony, and the reaction we have to that is so much dependent on what we have heard from Microsoft earlier that morning. Do you think if Microsoft come out and do some sort of tie-in with Oculus, that then the PlayStation VR ends up looking like sort of the lesser of the two of those?
Maybe to people who aren't enthusiasts in terms of gaming, how they care about it, because I think Oculus they were really notable because they were like, okay, we're doing VR, we're going to do it first, we know what we're doing, and they caught everyone's attention.
Facebook bought us for billions.
Yeah. And at this point, I think what it's devolved down to for them, because Vive has kind of stepped in, right, and sort of taken over the hardcore enthusiast market.
Right.
Oculus is far more mainstream. And if anything, I think Microsoft needs to latch onto that, and that'll be good for them to sort of define that. But when it comes to people, like us who really care about traditional gaming in that way and how that can be brought into VR, I think PlayStation VR will be able to stand on its own in that regard and not necessarily be compared one-to-one with Oculus.
Okay, a couple of games to jump into. First of all, I guess we're going to probably see some No Man's Sky now, especially that it's been delayed a little bit. Let's show off some No Man's
It can't
Sky.
be the same focus, though. Like, that was a big part of the show, and that's something I really want them to back off on. I don't want to see a lot of it.
I want to see how the economy works, like all the sort of like what you do with what you gather and what you discover. Like, show me more of that nuance, that kind of thing.
Even that'd be a cool one to see if they have virtual reality support. That would be, that might sell a bunch of PlayStation VRs as well. Moving on, God of War 4. What have Sony Santa Monica been working on for the past couple of years? I guess they released God of War Ascension.
PlayStation Battle All Stars. Was that even
right?
That was somebody else, I think.
That
was somebody else.
But I guess it feels like a sort of a mainline God of War have been rumored for a while. One without Kratos, like a starting sort of fresh thing.
And I think the rumor is like setting it in Norse mythology.
Okay, that'd be pretty cool.
Would be it's interesting.
Everyone gets a kick off that. Europe's real hot right now. Witcher 3. Everyone loves a bit of Europe.
The same problem I have though with this is the issues we were describing with Gears of War 4, right? Like God of War made such a big splash, and it continued to for a while, but it was helped somewhat by the advent of the PlayStation 3. Like that sort of like jump started the series again. But since then, it hasn't really achieved the same sort of like renown or attention.
Totally.
So maybe PlayStation 4 can help elevate it a little bit in terms of graphics, but really like what sort of gameplay things are they going to do? They're going to surprise us.
Yeah.
It can't just be the world that it's set in. It can't just be that it's a little bit prettier than before.
Yeah.
I think it really needs to find a new way to define itself. And if it is indeed coming and it is how they describe, like I hope they can leverage the world to do that.
Yeah.
That'd be great. But
you can rip the eyeballs out of all sorts of new things.
Yeah.
They'll be totally different. Eyeball ripping.
Do you say eyebrows or eyeballs?
Eyeballs.
I just steal eyebrows and put them on my
that'd be,
forehead.
god damn it.
You never know how I feel because
layers of emotion all written all over your face. Another rumor that's been floating around, I mean, Sony have had the Spider-Man IP for a while when it comes to the movie stuff. Word that perhaps Sucker Punch are working on a Spider-Man game.
Like, I don't know if that's true or not, or if it's just that fanboy wish, because Infamous is a fun game.
Right.
But with that Spider-Man skin, it would be perfect. It just like fits that so well. But I don't know how true that is and how much that is just, that's something that would be really cool. It seems like it would fit.
Like a dream. Yeah. I mean, Second Son was a fun game. I really enjoyed that. I'd like to see them, maybe take a deeper stab at it. Like, I guess what else, we don't know what else that studio is working on at the moment, right? Local boys, so we'll have to see. Yeah, there it is. Infamous Second Son, jumping around. Dan Reichert's in that game for some reason. It's very weird.
Really?
Yeah. He's like a bunch of the like Russian terrorist dudes.
Oh, that makes
like
sense.
skins. Yeah, totally.
Well, like real life.
Yeah. There's another great resume floating around, a LinkedIn post for Knack 2.
Yeah.
Mark Cerny's Knacky Journey.
Mark
2.
Cerny's Sony Journey.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mark
when I
2.
think about PlayStation launch games that I was really hoping would get a reboot that I just wanted to dive into again,
Right.
I immediately think of Knack.
They would be tone deaf if they announced Knack 2.
I feel like I hadn't heard of that game in years until I had heard about that.
But to be
but
fair,
then Mark Cerny's a powerful figure in Sony.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
architect of the PlayStation 4, weird guy to interview.
Which denotes power.
I know. I wish we had a recording of Martin Gaston's interview where Mark just stared at him and said nothing for a minute and 30 seconds. I mean, maybe, he's the dude who made a bunch of cool old PlayStation games. He could probably get away with doing another one, right? It wasn't a bad game. It was just like fine, right? It was a fine game.
It was exactly like Peter talked about earlier, where it's a game that doesn't feel like it needs to be on this next platform. It's just, This is another very old school game that's very pretty and nice to look at. But what does it do that elevates game, that makes this in any way a PlayStation 4 game?
Yeah. Who knows? I bet it'll turn up. I bet Knack 2 will turn up. I put money on it.
You know, it'd be great is if they had Knack on screen, and then to sort of bring in Naughty Dog, they had Crash Bandicoot just like whirlwind through him and bust him up and be like, "Wrong, it's me."
I mean, without getting into spoilers, Crash Bandicoot has reappeared recently. Do you think maybe they go back to the Bandicoot? Go back to the Bandicoot watering
No,
hole?
I actually don't. I'd be very shocked if Naughty Dog made a new Crash Bandicoot.
It's kind of a one-note game. Like, it's fun, but like, what does a new Crash Bandicoot look like? It'd be the same problem Sonic's had forever.
Right.
It's like,
they already did the kart racing like Sonic.
yeah.
They haven't done a fighting game.
There you go. Maybe a collectible card game. Yeah, we'll see. Anything else in terms of Sony rumors you guys want to talk about? I mean, 4.5 seems to be the thing everyone has their eyes on.
There has to be something. Sony's not, I wouldn't say a wild card, but there's going to be a surprise. And I feel like we're not going to see it. We're not going to have gameplay. We're not going to be able to do it, but we're going to get an announcement for it. We're going to see some really exciting trailers, both for Xbox and Sony PlayStation. Like, there's going to be something that I can't even guess, and that's what has me most excited.
I'm just going to be super predictable and bring up Kojima.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Because there was that image that we got the other day that shows the face of the character like within like the mascot. And
what did you say again? I'm coming.
I'll keep coming.
I'll keep coming.
And so
That's disgusting, Hideo.
There's two things about that. One was we had producer Kenichiro Maizumi on record as saying this is not an image of or from the game we're working on.
Right.
And which a lot of people took as this is not going to be anything that is related to a game.
Right.
He since clarified with us like, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was this is not a screenshot.
Right. Okay.
You can decide whatever you think this is. We're not commenting on that. So with that, plus with the fact that people were looking at that image and realized if you compare this angle to the hero shot of Norman Reedus from the press materials for Silent Hills,
right,
it's like the same eye fold. So,
really?
Yeah. So I think we're getting to a point now where we're not going to see like maybe a trailer. We might just see, we might see a teaser of what they're working on because we know Kojima's making a game that will be on PlayStation 4.
That's wouldn't that be mental though? Because you're literally talking about like less than 6 months passing since he formed this studio.
But he's has to have something that you want to have something that he's going to show. And I mean, he's a veteran. He knows this industry inside and out.
It sounds like when you get your band together, you're a teenager, and you make your website before you've written a song. It's like,
well, perhaps, but I at the same time, I think that there's a good chance that anything. I mean, look, we put up an image of just a character that people have already seen before, like 90% of that character, and it was, I think, the highest trafficking story on the site yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
So anything that they do will get people's attention, and to not capitalize on that opportunity is again a missed opportunity. So why wouldn't they?
That'd be great. Love to see it. We'll have to wait and see. Not too much longer, only a couple of days. Less than a week before Sony take to the stage on Monday at probably 4 o'clock or something like that.
At a time?
At a time. To be determined. It's not determined. We know it. It's on the internet somewhere. Go Google it. Let us know what you think about Sony in the comments below. Gentlemen, let's talk about the other console manufacturer who may or may not be showing more than one game at E3. I don't know.
PC.
Oh no, not the PC game show. Are they doing it again this year?
They are doing it again this year.
That was a weird show last year.
It was a weird show last year.
I think this year they're doing it right before Ubisoft.
Okay.
And they had to bump it back. They were like, our show was going to run into that. We need to scale it back.
Yeah, wasn't it like 4 hours last time?
Yeah, it was.
And they finished with Sean Murray, and it was a weird thing. Anyway, we're not talking about PC. We're talking about the other side of the power line of consoles. Nintendo! They're not showing the NX this year. Are they, though, Justin? Are they not showing it?
They've been very explicit that they're not.
Oh, okay.
And it's weird. That's such a Nintendo thing to do, to go to the biggest gaming show in the world and not bring the thing that everybody is curious about, the most interesting thing they have working on, the thing that their biggest game is going to come out on next year, and not talk about it.
But they are showing the game.
Yeah, Zelda's going to be Zelda, a launch title for the NX.
Yeah.
Is not going to be on the NX. It's going to be on the Wii U. Okay, Nintendo.
Think about it this way: like they're trying to compete with so many different people. Nintendo being what they are, they would stand to benefit from waiting like a month after E3,
right?
And just doing a Nintendo Direct and be like, "This is it."
This has been part of like a very long, slow crawl out of E3 though, right?
Yeah.
Like between stop doing their press conference to the direct stuff and then the Treehouse sort of being where they were announcing things. Let's talk a little bit about the hardware sort of aspects of this, Peter. We talked briefly about it last week about how there was like a certain chipset that they were like using that may or may not be connected with the NX.
So the rumor is they may be using the Tegra chip made by NVIDIA, which has been used in their various Shield devices.
Right.
And what that does is it allows almost PlayStation 3 type graphics on mobile devices.
Okay.
You sacrifice a little bit of resolution and some graphical flourishes. But it's also got some hardware built in to help stream to another device or capture a stream from another device. So they were famously streaming from a PC to these things like over wireless and stuff. And that
like
was fancy.
Not totally dissimilar to the Wii U tablet?
Not totally dissimilar, but it worked like over internet connections. You didn't have to do it locally. So, if they go with the Tegra, you could say, okay, that's cool. And then maybe NVIDIA will be, providing a stronger GPU for the console itself, if that is a thing. People talk about them having a handheld that will be docked in a console. But if Nintendo doesn't make a serious effort to at least be close to the power that we're seeing in the current versions of the new console or the modern consoles, they're fools.
Right.
They can't rely on a mobile chip to compete on a console. So I don't think that that'll be the way it works.
At the same time, it has to have some compatibility with the Wii U, which is something that we see every iteration of consoles, that they have some problem porting games over or making that cross compatibility with, especially on console hardware. But this has to play Wii U games because the NX or Zelda Wii U is going to be a launch title for the NX as well.
Well, yeah, and they've talked a little bit about developing middleware that allows porting of games cross-generation and from other consoles. So it seems like there will be a way for them to do that. It'll largely depend on the architecture of the hardware. For a while, everyone was thinking, they're just going to go the same route as Sony and Microsoft and do an x86 chip, which is what you see from like Intel and their PC line. But they might actually go PowerPC, which is what we used to see in Macintoshes back in the day.
Right.
Not Macs, Macintoshes. and that provides a different sort of thing, but if you're doing that between generations, that'll help.
Yeah. Moving on to the games, I mean, there's not really much to talk about except Zelda Wii U. Emily Rogers has rumored that the Zelda U will have voice acting and that you can select whether you want to play as a male or female character at the start. That'll be an interesting update.
Yeah,
to
so you
the
can
Zelda
hear
franchise.
Link either go, oh,
Yeah.
or
yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Wait,
Right,
what
but-
game are you playing?
Zelda.
Sure.
That's, Link.
Looking forward to it?
Well, definitely. There's a reason Nintendo is going to be able to build almost their entire E3 presence around Zelda Wii U, because they know that this is their tentpole title, that all of us are excited for it. And even though I don't think that is going to be the only thing, and they've said on record now that they're going to have their second day of the Treehouse Live talking about other games like Pokemon Go. It's not going to be 100% Zelda, but they could. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised. I would have believed it if the only game playable at the show, the only game they talked about was Zelda, because there's so much hype and excitement around that game. That is a game that people have said, I want to buy a Wii U, but I'm waiting for Zelda.
I just hope I don't have to use a gamepad with that thing. If they force me to use a gamepad for Zelda, I will be very
You mean
upset.
like as a shield or like as a sword?
Oh, God. Don't even give them the idea.
I feel like with Nintendo, we always get the craziest rumors because nobody really knows, and there's a language barrier involved there as well, and a cultural barrier, significant one. So, a lot of these rumors, probably, we know Pokemon Go perhaps is going to be shown there as well. That's dead. Has that been confirmed that they're going to show Pokemon Go?
I think they said that at the Treehouse Live, they're going to talk about Pokemon Go.
Okay.
They're going to talk about Monster Hunter Generations, some other games that are coming to 3DS.
It was Sun and Moon.
I don't think they said whether they're going to
really?
talk about Sun and Moon, which is really weird. That they would talk about Go, but not Sun and Moon.
There's a rumor as well that Mother 3 might finally be getting localized for North American markets.
Yes, it is. That is going to happen. I believe this. So at the beginning of this year, we have a predictions article for 2016.
Oh, here we go.
Because I totally forgot about it. And we're going to revisit this at the end of the year.
Yeah.
My prediction was Mother 3 announced this year. It's going to happen.
You made that prediction 2 years ago.
I make this prediction every year.
Yeah, I know.
This year it's
By the
Yeah.
But it came out. But this year it at least came out in Japan. So I have strength behind me. They just have to localize it, and there are localizations. There's already translations. They can totally use those.
There you go.
But didn't Mado, the guy behind that, go on record as saying Nintendo has not contacted me, and or any efforts I've made have been met with resistance?
That's Nintendo, though. They don't want to use somebody else's. They're like, we'll take care of that.
That's what I'm saying.
ourselves.
So there's not already a translation.
It's Nintendo, not Nintendo. It's Nintendo. Nintendo. Last thing on this, if you had, before we jump into Bethesda and Ubisoft and EA and everyone else, if you had a wish list, if you had one thing that you would like Nintendo to announce this year, what would it be?
Super Mario Galaxy 3.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
For NX? For both?
For both.
Yeah. I played on Wii U. I like my Wii U.
I played on Wii.
Let's not go crazy. Played on PC.
Can't stop me.
Get that PC hack over. What about yourself, Justin? Apart from Mother 3 and being right.
Well, so they've already said that they're going to be having some mobile games coming out. So we know we're going to get a Fire Emblem. I think Animal Crossing on mobile.
Right.
Okay.
Cool experiences. I still want Animal Crossing on Wii U. I know that I am in the minority for this.
You want to be
sickness.
a prisoner at home as well as on your commute and the toilet?
And if it ties into the mobile game, and I can play on the Wii U and my 3DS, and I can just be harvesting vegetables and fish all the
Jeez.
time.
That's dangerous. Eric Tay would get into that. That's what would happen. If you put it on a home
And we
console.
can trade vegetables. Got a stock.
You can trade
market.
vegetables in real life and you don't do it.
Seriously.
Do
You want an apricot? I'll give you a peach.
None of those are vegetables, but
All right, on that.
apparently you can't in real life.
We'll know more about what Nintendo are showing off if there is any surprises this time next week. I guess their Treehouse is running the whole show, right? The whole length of the show. So
Or
just have to wait and see.
Nintendo does a coup announces what like the day before Saturday. It's like
boom,
in X. There you go.
Yo,
Screw all you guys.
that'd be a good idea. Imagine we get 3 hardware revisions in 1 year. That'd be amazing. So let us know what you'd like Nintendo to announce in the comments below, and hit subscribe if you want to get more hot E3 content. All right, gentlemen, we're gonna swap it out. Peter Brown, Justin Hayward, get the hell off my set.
All right.
We got a bunch of Brits sitting down. Dave Jewett sitting in the wings. No better person to talk about Bethesda. And Timur Hussein is here as well. Foxhound shirt.
I'm here.
Should have had you on for Sony.
I was ready.
Oh my God.
Ready to talk about
Congratulations.
everything.
Day 2 of Ramadan. You doing all right?
I'm doing all right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's chill, all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too bad.
I like
I'll
it.
probably have to make up some when I get back.
Right.
But
Because you're on
yeah,
a trip
I get
at
a
the
little
moment.
break, thankfully, which is...
Yeah. Well, I was about to say the sun is probably real bad in London at the moment, but have you seen the videos?
I have not. Is
It's
it just
raining
torrential rain?
cats and
Classic
fucking dogs.
London behavior.
Yeah, there is a great video of like a Ford Focus or something driving straight into like what they think is a puddle, and it's a lake, and it's a
Vanishes.
bunch of London lads standing around with cameras calling the driver a bell end. It's the most London thing I have ever seen.
God, I love that city.
It's incredible. Dave, have you been to San Francisco before?
No, this is my first time here.
How are you enjoying it?
I love it so far, apart from the minor sunburn.
Oh, really?
There.
How many people have you seen trying to hack you with their telephones as you walk around, watchdog style?
I mean, if they're doing it right, I've not seen them at all. So hopefully
Right.
my data's still safe.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out about that soon enough. Gentlemen, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. First of all, in terms of software, we've just done all the hardware stuff. Now we're going to jump into software. The first folks to talk about Bethesda. Last year, they did their first E3 conference. It ended up being the E3 conference. I mean, between showing Fallout 4, announcing it, saying it was coming out later that year, Pip-Boy edition, launching a mobile game, Doom, like the amount of insane stuff that they showed at that. I mean, Dishonored, it was an absolute barn burner. Looking at this year, there was a lot of rumors about some of the stuff that we may or may not see. First one I want to talk about with you, Dave, Skyrim Remastered. I feel like I've heard this rumor for the past 3 years at E3. It's either happening this year or it's not happening at all, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard about it so many times. And I mean, I'd love to jump back into that world again. But at the same time, I feel like it's also maybe not the most deserving Elder Scrolls game. Maybe a bit of a controversial opinion.
Right.
But, I mean,
Would you prefer to see Oblivion get...
Morrowind.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, actually, fair enough.
I mean, the way I look
I mean,
at
you
it
didn't
is
say Daggerfall, so that's all right. Or Arena.
either remaster a game that isn't only 5 years old.
Yeah.
Because everyone's already played Skyrim to death, and it still looks amazing, especially with mods. But you either remaster a game that's like way inaccessible now, like Morrowind,
Yeah.
or you explore the rest of Tamriel. Like you could go to Black Isle, the home of the Argonians, and see what they're doing.
All right, I'm going to be the Mr. Bethesda in the suit and be like, talk some sense into you and be... Skyrim is the most successful of the Elder Scrolls series.
But then
Absolutely.
it would be, right?
It would be, exactly. And if you were going to remaster anyone, you pick the one that people have current nostalgia for.
Right.
You know, it's still in the consciousness of gamers socially. You know, arrow to the knee memes, as
Oh,
much
God.
as we hate him,
Yeah.
are still going. Skyrim mods are what paved the way for Fallout mods.
Yeah.
And Bethesda's kind of interest in delivering mods across platforms. And they have a crap ton of mods already ready to go.
Right.
And they've just launched, obviously, Fallout mods, so they know how the flow works, the pipeline works.
Yeah.
They've got that stuff out. It's almost as if Fallout 4 mods was kind of worked out in order to bring Skyrim mods back.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's got so much legacy to it. And to be honest, like, everyone loves Skyrim. Like, we have nostalgia for Morrowind and Oblivion and that kind of stuff. But, like, the amount of people that still talk about Skyrim
Yeah.
right now, and I just, like... As soon as you announce it, I will throw my money at you and just posting pictures of Fry from Futurama being like, take my money. Like, there's millions of them out there. It makes perfect sense for them to do Oblivion. No,
Yeah.
sorry, it's Skyrim instead of Oblivion.
It wasn't until you mentioned Morrowind, or even like, do you want to feel really old? It's been 10 years since Oblivion came out. Is that
Man,
mental?
that was like
It's
one of
been
the
10
first games I
years.
bought on a like.
I love that
generation.
game.
Yeah. Remember
Plus-
getting that thick box version?
Yeah.
You remember that one? Yeah, it looked like a friggin' manuscript. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
I was actually the idiot that bought horse armor as well.
Oh, you were?
I did.
Yeah.
God, the start of DLC. That's
So,
how
like,
old it is.
Bethesda said that they pretty much have done Skyrim. They got it over. It was a
Yeah.
story a while back. Like,
I think
yeah,
they-
we ported it. We've done. We're
Totally.
done. Yeah,
So I
like,
think
we've got
that's-
it running on Xbox.
Yeah, like enough people had seen
Yeah.
it through
Yeah.
some sort of channels that even last year it was like, oh, it's definitely happening.
Yeah, it was clearly something they kind of used to explore developing for these consoles, and we're like, right, if we just hit press discs.
Yeah,
we will
but imagine how
grab
good that
tons of
rain
money.
and water would look. That Morrowind dankness in HD. Let's move on though, because we got a bunch of games to go through here. Doom released last month. Massive surprise success. It sold well in excess of, it was 500,000 sometime last week. It's probably pushed way past that now as well, and that's only on PC. Do you think we'll see some DLC for this thing? Like,
best case scenario, we'll get some single player DLC. Worst case scenario, we'll get some multiplayer DLC.
Yeah, totally with you on that.
Yeah.
Dave, what do you think?
I mean, I've played into the ending, and no spoilers, but the ending was like, you'll see more of us.
Okay, right.
So, I mean, it's pretty implied we'll see more of Doom. But like Tam said, the single player was one of the best shooter stories that I've played in years. But the multiplayer, I was just like,
yeah,
Is this
totally. I
what
mean,
you got?
developed by a different, you know, it's Critical Assembly who did it, or sort of Call of Duty and Halo, you know, multiplayer side project fame. Yeah, there was nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's so,
It's
like,
just
it's so blasé.
different from the single player experience.
Yeah.
It's like we've figured out how to boil Doom back down to its essence. We want to remind you what first person shooters like this, why you love them, and we're going to give you that. And then multiplayer, remember this modern crap you've got?
yeah.
Want some more of that?
Surprise!
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long tradition of Doom, you know, launching map packs, so hopefully we'll see more of that. Let's get Fallout 4 out of the way. Do you think we're going to see any more? I mean, they have a pipeline for a bunch more expansion packs.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to announce any more? I feel like the cliff on Fallout 4 has been very surprising. I mean, so you host and run our Fallout 4 show, right?
Yeah.
So like Fallout 3 seemed to just be forever. People were like modding it and playing it. Skyrim, same sort of thing. Like I have a similar experience on my YouTube channel doing Fallout 4 streams and stuff.
Yeah.
Just you can see it. Like there's just not that much interest in it. It's
the hype
really
just
surprising.
kind of plummeted.
Yeah.
But what I was looking at is the time difference between Fallout 3 and New Vegas. And for
Right.
me, New Vegas was way better than Fallout 3.
Yeah,
It's
totally agree.
my favorite Fallout game. The gap there was 2 years.
Right.
So
God.
in theory, we could see like Obsidian,
Right,
maybe their
that'd be
version
amazing.
of Fallout. Like
Yeah.
they take up the reins. The same that happened with Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Maybe they could be skulking. And
But then you wonder if, you know, Todd Howard's team, well, I guess it wouldn't be Todd Howard's team then, but you wonder maybe if Bethesda as a whole are done announcing games a year and a half out because they had so much success with Fallout 4, you know?
true, yeah.
They said that when they announced the season pass and then raised the price of the season pass, they said they've expanded the scope of it to include more. And if they have more to work with in terms of they've got more plans for DLC, it would make sense for them to announce something now instead of just being like waiting it out. Because as you said, interest is kind of waning. And I think that's partially a symptom of how quickly it was announced and then released, and then
Just the amount of hype around it
and
when
the
it
hype,
launched.
yeah,
Like,
like,
jeez, there's very few games that can get
we
that.
were being pummeled by Fallout stuff around the launch. So I think a lot of people were like kind of were ready to draw a line under Fallout and be like, all right, I can sweep all that stuff under the rug now and just move on with my gaming life. But like if they want to bring people back into it, some story DLC will go down a tree, I reckon.
Let's move on a little bit here. Let's potter through these ones pretty quick because we don't know too much about them. Dishonored 2, we've already seen, you know, that lovely trailer, presumably gameplay this year.
Yeah, there definitely will be. I went to see it recently and wrote up a preview and an interview and that kind of stuff.
Did you see it getting played?
Yeah, so I didn't get to play it, but I watched one of the gameplay designers play it, and it looked really cool. It looks to be kind of doing a lot of similar things, but the interesting thing part of it is the way the world kind of reacts to you and the way you can mess around with weird supernatural powers.
Cool.
So it's just a matter of giving you more of that and making the AI better. And the interesting thing about it was like they clearly had more ambitious ideas for the original Dishonored,
right?
But were hampered by somewhat of by the technology. They couldn't like get the AI routines down the way they wanted them to interact.
Okay.
And the thing that they were really speaking about when I interviewed them was like, we need, you know, we've got more power so we can do crazier things and let you do crazier things. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do with it.
That's exciting. I mean, I want a smarter version of Thief or something like that.
That's what it feels like, to be honest.
Excellent. Wolfenstein, will we see another one of these? I mean, Machine Games is rebirth of that. Oh, Doom was a surprise. Wolfenstein was equally a surprise.
Yeah.
Like, what a wonderful game. The best Wolfenstein game, probably, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see any more Wolfenstein
I hope so.
2?
Especially after like the Old World Blues. That was kind of like a standalone / DLC experience. But I adored the remake of Wolfenstein. And especially if they take the things that they've learned from Doom, taking these super old games, pulling on your nostalgia strings.
Yeah, they're 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Like now I just want them to announce a new Quake. Like, and I wouldn't have said that 2 months ago. I would have said, don't touch Quake. We all still remember Quake 4. We're still getting over it.
The voice actress for, was it Anya?
Yes.
She's basically let slip that she's working on the second one.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah, she said, I worked on this game series in the past, and I loved the bit when you got to kill Hitler.
Yeah.
And now I'm working on this series, and I'm working on the second part of it. So,
Yeah.
like, by reading between the lines.
Spoilers, you get to kill Hitler again.
Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned Quake because when I played the Doom multiplayer,
Right.
it reminded me more of Quake than anything else.
See, that's a weird thing because, like, a lot of people were saying that because I guess the verticality that existed in Quake, there was none in Quake 1 multiplayer. And Quake 2 multiplayer, it was all like hook mod and arena stuff, and it was like Rocket Arena and things like that. And Quake 3 was a bit more like, oh, there's more people involved. But there was an interesting conversation I had last week with a couple of folks in the office about how maybe it makes sense that like Doom's multiplayer was the way it was because they're working on Quake. Like
that'd be
maybe they
interesting.
just make, because it's team, like for all the modes in Doom's multiplayer are team based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For God knows what reason, because team multiplayer was not ever a thing. I mean, even on Doom or Quake, like unless you talk about Team Arena, which everyone's wiped from their minds. So like, imagine if the reason they got Critical Assembly to work on that was because, hey, you know what, we're actually going to be doing a new Quake over here.
Yeah.
Turns out arena shooters are real hot right now. We got Cliff Blazinski making a new one. Blizzard are even in on it. Like, imagine it. Like, now I believe them if they did a new Quake.
I'd be throwing my money at that as well.
Right?
Yeah, there's more faith in them now. I mean, like
Totally.
you said, they're 2 for 2 right now. They clearly understand their own lineage again, and they understand what made the original games great. And perhaps, like, you've convinced me. I'm ready for it. Like, I believe it. So
I was about to say Facing Worlds.
And it's one of the few studios that are doing nostalgia correctly as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
They're
totally.
not letting you down. They're pulling on your
Yeah.
nostalgia heartstrings, but then also delivering on that love.
Yeah, it's amazing. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Last big one here, I guess, and this one's been floating around for a while, and it sounds like this is not going to be anything to do with the one we saw before, which Human Head was working on, but there is a lot of word that Prey 2 may be resurfacing. Jason Schreier, there was he kind of threw it into the end of one of his news posts last week, but then in the comments, he added something else saying, is over at Kotaku. All I've heard is that they're announcing it at E3. I'm not 100% sure, though. I do know it's codenamed Danielle and is under development at Arcane Austin, and that this is totally new Prey 2. It might even be called something else now at this stage, or now, sorry. Now, and not the one we saw in 2011 from Human Head. So Arcane Austin, I mean, we don't know what else they're working on at the moment.
Yeah, they haven't. I mean, they're a studio that was established by Bethesda.
Yeah.
And then nothing has come out of it, which is suspicious. Like, they're clearly working on something. And everything that Schreier said there kind of jives with what the news, the leaks, the kind of rumors that have happened so far with, Human Head being taken off the project.
Yeah.
And it even kind of fits in with Bethesda cancelling the project. They cancelled Prey 2.
Right.
They didn't cancel. They may have just reinvented it as something else and taken out all of that and given it to Arcane Austin and let them run with it.
Yeah, you never know what happens in these situations.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
it wasn't coming together, or I mean, Arcane Austin had worked out. They helped out Arcane with Dishonored 2, Dark Messiah, Magic, and all that. But
It's kind of a shame because the Human Head stuff that they showed off a few E3s ago looked really cool. Like
it looked good, but you were also wondering, like, how
how were you
previs is
gonna do
this?
this?
Like,
Yeah.
is this actually the game?
Yeah.
We've been burned a bunch on that a bunch of times. I guess they should probably announce another mobile game. I don't know. That last one worked out pretty good.
It's real good.
Really-
Fallout Shelter, I mean, that's still on my phone now.
Yeah. It was really good at wasting my battery at E3 when I was on the toilets for like a solid week, and sometimes a not so solid week.
On the toilet for a solid week. Or,
Anything else you can think of Bethesda wise?
I mean, my hopes is more Doom, more single player Doom, and if they were, like, Fallout is one of my favorite game series, and I don't mind admitting that I was a little bit disappointed with Fallout 4.
Right,
If they were to revitalize that, give it to Obsidian, and let them do what they did to Fallout 3 into New Vegas, that would make me happy, boy.
I wonder if whether we like it or not, they might spend a little time on Elder Scrolls Online. at
Right,
some
yeah,
point.
yeah.
I'm sure it's
Still kicking around.
I mean, it's doing well enough for them to keep it around. Usually, MMOs that fail or aren't doing too well are canned way quicker than this.
Well,
perhaps-
Tamriel Unlimited, they went free to play.
It seems to be doing okay. So maybe we'll get some. I know they did Thieves Guild recently, so maybe we'll get some more stuff to do with more expanded.
And it's almost the fact that we haven't talked about this at all, but it is too early for Todd Howard's team to start talking about a new Elder Scrolls game. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
you think
they're a big team. Like, as in, they have a few people working on a bunch of different things, so they could be working on it, like, and put out a small teaser. Never know. I wouldn't put it past them.
That'd
I don't
be a beautiful
expect
thing.
it, but I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
Like we said before, I mean, whilst we'd all love a Skyrim remastered, exploring the rest of that like super rich world.
Yeah, there's still a
would-
bunch of provinces in Tamriel. we
Exactly,
haven't
like
touched
half
yet.
half of the entire world is still unexplored. So
Yeah.
let's get around to that. Maybe even like a huge all of Tamriel at once. Just give it all to us.
And as much as we love Bethesda and like to treat their games as all these distinct things, there are clearly a lot of like overlaps between Fallout and Skyrim in
Yep.
terms of technology, how they build their games. The fact that they have done Fallout 4 now makes it considerably easier to move on to another Elder Scrolls
Or
game.
maybe that's what the Skyrim, remastered is all about. The same with the Gears of War remastering, running into Gears of War 4 was them like getting all those assets back in
There's
there.
definitely bleed over in terms of technology and design and that kind of stuff. So it would fast track that process somewhat.
Who knows? They might have a new IP up their sleeve as well. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you both for coming on, talking to us. Dave Jewish, Tamura saying you stick around. We're going
Stick around.
to get Rob Crossley on in a second. Let us know what you think of Bethesda, what they're going to show off in the comments below. And hit that subscribe button. We have a bunch of videos. There's 8 of these videos going up on our YouTube channel. If you're watching this live, of course, you don't have to wait. We got Rob Crossley here with his white-ass shirt. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, friend.
How are you doing?
Good.
How are things? How are video games doing? Tell me of
Great.
the news.
I don't know if I can replace Dave. Dave is irreplaceable, but I'll try my best.
Everyone's replaceable, right?
Right, really.
In this commercial capitalist world
Wow,
we live in.
started with quite a cynical line, but yeah, you're right.
Has there been any leaks in the past hour since we've been in here?
No,
man.
Has there?
It's not in the past.
Not
hour,
in the
right?
past hour, no.
No.
Oh, but there has been today.
There has been today. Like, we've had Injustice, we've had
Watch Dogs stuff.
Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're about to get into that in a second. Do you want to get into it?
Let's do it. Let's talk about Watch Dogs.
All right.
Dogs.
Ubisoft.
Yeah.
E3 2016. They're going to be there showing off video games. They're not going to show Assassin's Creed. Well, they're not launching one this year. Maybe they'll show one. Who knows? They might show For Honor. They might show Ghost Recon's Wildlands. But they're probably going to show Watch Dogs too.
They're definitely going to show Watch Dogs 2, whether we like it or not. That is happening. You're going to get that Watch Dogs 2.
If you're watching this live, then this is before any sort of Watch Dogs 2 announcement stuff. We are thinking they're going to announce something soon. The leak at the moment is that IGN had a full page takeover of their website. I feel like
I feel bad for them. It's unfortunate that happens. Right?
I think it's kind of funny.
I do.
I know. We all do it. So when it happens to them, we
But
have
I
to
think
laugh.
Ubisoft has been really unlucky because they kept Watch Dogs 2 under wraps.
Yeah.
And then some actor,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
voice
He
actor
was-
just
he
went,
was like
oh,
a-
thanks very
yeah,
much,
like
Ubisoft.
He's got his glasses on. Thanks,
Yeah.
Ubisoft, for my
Yeah.
sick shades.
That was the YouTuber. The actor before him was
Oh,
the
right.
guy who was like, he's a model, and he's like, I'm in Watch Dogs 2. Also, check out my abs on Instagram. And then it was like,
That's a good,
oh,
that's
wow.
good. He's got some
Yeah.
numbers on that.
So it's like,
message.
oh, I guess you're in Watch Dogs 2. Also,
Yeah.
Watch Dogs 2. Here's a picture.
So
the
what-
good
what-
thing for Ubisoft, the game hasn't been revealed yet. They
Yes.
can still like do the wonderful reveal of the game at E3.
Yeah, we don't know what it is. All we seem to be able to take from it is that there is an African American protagonist and that it is set in San Francisco.
Is there an African American protagonist?
That's what
I did not know that.
So there was a screen. There was it was an Instagram shot from some sort of mocap artist
Yeah,
about
that's
2
the one.
weeks ago, I think, or maybe it was shorter.
a little longer than that,
A little
yeah.
longer than that. Of an African American character wearing basically the sort of bandana. And then some glasses and then a hat, which was like very, very Watch Dogsy. And then basically that same character his pic was on. There it is there. Then that same picture has appeared sort of in better lighting on the front page takeover for IGN. So that's very interesting. Not just because obviously diversity in games is very good, but in terms of like, I'm somebody who lives in Oakland and used to live in San Francisco, and like gentrification and the sort of pushing out of minorities within San Francisco to Oakland has been is like part of the daily life, the culture of this area. So if they're doing that, then that's like well done, because that like the two stories that are happening around the Bay Area is that the gentrification and all, rich people basically pushing people out, that and the tech boom, which is Watch Dogs, perfect, fits in perfectly, right?
I think that's probably why they've chosen San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a software center of America, basically.
Yeah,
now,
of the
and
world, you could say.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's probably a good idea for a setting. Considering that GameSpot and all the big games companies are located in San Francisco, there's
Right.
probably going to be a lot of reviews about the accuracy of the location. But I think Ubisoft have a really good chance with Watch Dogs 2 to establish the franchise.
Yeah, this is
What
kind
did you
of
think
like,
of the first Watch Dogs?
I thought it was very forgettable, and even it didn't deliver on any of. It's the classic Ubisoft maneuver, right? Assassin's Creed 1 comes out, and we were like, "Holy smokes, this looks incredible!" And it was shallow. It had a lot of good ideas, but just did not deliver on any of them.
Yeah.
Hey man, I like Assassin's Creed 1.
I like it as well.
Altai is your favorite boy as
Altai
well.
is my boy, yeah. He's like the most Arab dude in video games ever. And I was like, he's fully Arab. Look at this guy. And everyone else is like, so? I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. But like, their second games generally turn out to be much better. The second games are the ones that kind of establish the template going forward.
Well, let's not forget that Watch Dogs 1 tried to do so much. I mean, this is a brand new IP, an open world game released for 6 platforms at the same time. I mean, that's a tall order, isn't it? That's a big ask.
And this was right at like the sort of the highest point of Ubisoft's like massive machine, software development cycle, like of them pulling in thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And you see that culturally there seems to be a little bit of they've taken stock of what happened with Assassin's Creed. Watch Dogs was probably like one of the least impactful new IPs they've had in a long time, especially in the third person action adventure setting. I was not a fan of the first game at all. I was very disappointed by it. Yeah, but like there's something about this. Enough time has passed. I think nobody knows more about how good or bad a game is than the people who made it. Like they know. They didn't need the media to say anything. They didn't need consumers to say anything.
Do you think that's true though? Because when you're working on a game for so long, you can't see it anymore, right? If you're so knee deep in the game, and I think that's the case.
I feel like when it comes to the end, though, they must be able to like sit back and go, right.
You hear a lot of stories about developers saying like the bug that you're complaining about, or the design element that you're complaining about.
Try and justify
we
it.
know. We
get
it.
Yeah. I find developers try and justify it a lot of the time as well, though, right?
No, I feel like they, like Danny's saying, I feel like they do justify it, but I feel like deep down they know maybe we over.
That's because you hardball interview them, Crossley. That's right. Let's get on to some more of the games. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. For Honor, I'm really surprised how much hype there is around this game. Whenever we do our weekly breakdowns of all the games people are searching for on GameSpot, For Honor has been consistently there all year long. Has been in the top five sometimes.
We've seen so little of it, and
hardly any.
And every time I think about it, I think about like Infinity Blade, and it feels like a mobile game that's been expanded into like a AAA title.
Like, is it coming off the sort of Dark Souls
It looks
like
more
Dynasty Warriors than Dark
not even
Souls.
Dynasty Warriors. It feels like it's literally Infinity Blade. Like you're getting these one-on-one encounters from point to point. Dynasty Warriors feels like a mass kind of like large-scale battle type thing. Whereas this is like you're a Viking and now you got to fight a samurai. Use your touch-based stuff to figure out how to deflect attacks, and it's so weird. But like I'm really interested in seeing more of it, mainly because that bearded dude was like mega hype last time. And I'm like, I wanna know what he knows. Like I want to drink what he drinks.
Yeah. So I played For Honor last year. And I wasn't really expecting too much going into it, but I had a lot of fun playing it. So it's basically this big, massive battle, sword fights and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you're playing against loads of AIs, much like Dynasty Warriors, just slicing people down. But like you can also play other people online as well at the same time.
So you get involved in like singular battles within the battle.
Precisely, yeah. So like, in a Dark Knight Rises, for example, there's that big massive fight outside of that big building.
The two of them are having
and they have a showdown, don't they?
Bane and
They stare at each other in the middle of that massive fight, and they're like, yeah, let's do this.
And nobody just comes up and stabs them in the back.
No, that never
shoots
happens.
him in the head.
But like the game is trying to recreate that moment where you see someone who's just as good as you, like in a big battle, and face off against them. And I was really impressed by it. I thought it was really fun.
Another game we will probably see a lot of, Ghost Recon Wildlands. They've already started trickling out information about it more and more. That was a fun announcement. I'm a big fan of the Ghost Recon, like the old ones. Sure. And then I actually really liked Advanced Warfighter as well. They fumbled the whole 4-player co-op thing a couple of times though, like with the crew, and like there was a while there where every Ubisoft game had multiplayer.
The problem I have with Wildlands is the Ghost Recon name, it existed before Ubisoft switched to this template mode.
Yes, Tom Clancy was a Rainbow Six spin-off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it means like, are they going to try and fit that game into an existing template? Like, is it going to be Far Cry plus the crew, or Far Cry plus Assassin's Creed, or are they going to actually create a new, unique, like, Ghost Recon style template for their own game? I feel like if it's the original, if they're using a current template, I'll be less interested in it. Whereas if they're trying it, like bring some of what made the original Ghost Recon games interesting and tactical. And
They're
kind of
so
weird and
tactical
different.
though. They're like hidden and dangerous level of like
exactly
moment to moment.
But
Like,
there's nothing else that offers that right now.
That's true.
Like
So the moment the studio is flaunting how big the world is, that's
Right.
their PR line at the moment.
Yeah,
I get so worried
Right.
when publishers do that. They say, this is the biggest landmass you're ever going to play along. It's like, is there anything else good about this
Yeah,
game?
yeah. Because
Yeah.
if it's just another open world, like I mean, the crew is the
Yeah.
biggest thing ever, and that
See,
that was like the
thing
big
that-
problem there.
The thing that worries me is the Division just came out,
Right.
And that's a very easy like copy paste.
Yeah.
Let's just remove all these dudes, put some drugs in here, ship it.
Which they presumably would have been working on before the Division has had its sort of rise and fall, I guess.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure it was very profitable as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like if it's just open world Hitman with a dabble of Cocaine Cowboys, then maybe that's pretty cool. But the devil's in the detail with these type of games, so
Yeah.
we'll have to wait. There's also a lot of news about possibly a new AAA online game. This has been floated around for a while now.
Yeah, that's a you're gonna have to speculate on that, but I feel like a lot of people will feel similar to me, where they're like Ubisoft new AAA, and you're like, all right, and then they go online, and you go,
Or
what?
Rabbids.
Yeah. Are you telling me Just Dance Online is coming? Is that what's happening here?
To be fair to Ubisoft, every E3 the past 5 years now,
Sure.
they've stolen the show or threatened to steal the show with a big new game, usually a new IP,
Yeah.
that they've presented and paraded really smartly.
Right.
And
I mean, the Division
yeah.
or
Watch Dogs.
Watch Dogs. Yeah.
Watch Dogs was the big one. I
Yeah.
thought 2012 Watch
Yeah.
Dogs. I think it
I don't
was.
care about any of that. Just bring back Prince of Persia.
Right. Really?
Bring
Yeah.
him back. Get him on the road. Like that's the series that they might do that. I mean, they love doing that thing where they're like,
They said this is gonna be a
it's
new IP."
New IP, but it's the Prince of
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
Pakistan.
like,
or
Yeah.
so it's a new Tom Clancy IP.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is a brand new IP. Tom Clancy's
Clancy's
Rainbow
Right,
Seven.
yeah,
noun
yeah.
of the verb.
Oh, brilliant! Well done.
Now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it South Park stuff gets trotted out during Ubisoft as well, right?
Yeah.
The fractured
yeah.
butthole.
The fractured
butthole we saw
Yeah.
last year.
Yep.
Probably some more of that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they've said that they're going to announce at least one new IP at E3 or earlier. We haven't seen it yet, so presumably then. There's also a little handful of Ubisoft virtual reality games that are getting trotted out. Eagle Flight and Werewolves Within as well.
So Eagle Flight is the game where you're just flying
eagle.
You're a fucking eagle, mate.
as an eagle,
Yeah, you're flying.
and that's it.
That's it.
£15, please.
Hey man, you don't understand VR.
Right? Yeah. No, it's an
£15.
experience.
Also, 700 for VR device.
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, how about Werewolves Within, which is basically a virtual reality game
Of hanging out with friends.
Oh yeah, of a game that you literally can play
in real life.
in real life.
But this one's expensive.
Yeah.
Do you understand, Danny?
Apparently, it's really good. Alexa played. We're looking at the Eagle Flight here. Alexa, I mean, I love the red little thing. It's like yarnies stuck to a fucking pigeon. But Alexa played the Werewolves Within. Apparently, had an absolute blast with it. So I mean, maybe I can see that being cool if you're playing with like random people on the internet.
Yeah.
That's weird, right? To be like VR and then with random people.
No, I never.
They
play
don't
with
know you're
random
naked.
People on the internet after
don't
Uno.
know. After
Never
Uno?
again. No.
Uno was great. You got to watch people doing like cocaine in their little Xbox Live cameras.
Really?
Oh man, you should have.
That was horrific. Though,
Oh, you should have
surely.
played
Mate.
Uno. Like 3 years after it came out, it was dark.
Yeah.
The only people playing Uno were like just.
This is chat roulette before chat roulette.
Yeah, totally.
So like 50% chance of
I
seeing someone's
clearly
junk.
missed out on this.
Uno was great.
Brilliant. It's great.
So yeah.
Danny, what do you think about VR? I mean, like usually these things, people are quite cynical about it. Then they put the helmet on and they're like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And then
I think it's amazing. It's just how amazing is it to get to the sticker price for it? And I mean, they're going to get cheaper and cheaper. I still think there's a bunch of amazing games that have come out. The best thing that I've ever done on it was the Oculus. We're getting a little bit sidetracked here, but the Oculus Touch thing, which was like very much a communication experience, like a new version of Skype. It felt like a paradigm shift. It felt like something that I never would have thought of. So when I see companies like Ubisoft who are making like these like small little experiences, I mean, enough of these, right? If they talk about Werewolf Within, Eagle Flight, maybe one or two more little ones, like. The more and more games there are, it's like when you buy a console after a year. Even though you're not going to buy all the games that have been released, the fact that there is this library is like this comfort blanket that makes you feel better about spending $400.
Yeah.
So if there's enough of these virtual reality games, and if people are, and we know Sony are going to show off a load, we know there's a massive, they're going to be showing a lot on the stage floor, they're going to show a lot at their conference. If games like this, Werewolves Within and whatnot, they're like, interesting little side notes, then enough of those make it worthwhile. They still need
Right.
their killer app
So
stuff.
you're saying these games from Ubisoft, they will add to the pile, basically.
Yeah, I think so. And, eventually after a while it becomes, a bit more worthwhile. So that's Ubisoft. I mean, Watch Dogs 2, we're definitely going to see. Assassin's Creed, last note on this, there's none coming out this year. Will we see another one?
It's a really, really smart move to not
Yes.
release another.
They should not engage with Assassin's Creed this year, right?
Yeah,
let
I
the
mean-
movie, let Fassbender have his moment.
Sure. I mean,
that's the thing. Like, they're taking a year off, but they're also doing the movie. So,
Yeah.
I mean, is that really a year off?
and
Right,
also because they're kind of breaking the tradition, they might break tradition in the way they reveal the stuff. So it might be that we get a little teaser, a logo or something at the event, but then carry on revealing it later on down the line.
Is 1 year going to be enough? Are you going to want Assassin's Creed again if they?
That's a
leave
good
it for
point,
year?
because I needed 2 for Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
perhaps. Yeah, maybe it will be a little longer.
yeah.
I hope so, because that franchise I love, but is in dire need of a reboot of
All
some
right,
sort.
you both live in, last point is, you both live in London. What was your feel on Syndicate?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I like the characters finally. I haven't liked very many of the previous two, like
Right.
Edward Kenway and Connor Kenway and whoever the hell was before that.
Yeah.
But these two
Irish
guys were
bloke.
okay. Yeah, these two guys were all right. Evie and Jacob, I think his name is.
Why not?
Sure.
Yeah.
They were cool. I like that London looked nice. But I honestly didn't play all the way through it because
I took
got
a
to the
different line
point
in that.
where, yeah, where I was like,
I couldn't play it. I just
Right.
I mean, fair play to the developers. They're very talented. They do a great job.
Yeah.
But I just can't play another
You had
Assassin's Creed
your-
game for a while. I think.
yeah, I think the kind of the quick grapple thing kind of took it out for me. I like the mechanics of jumping and grabbing and that
Mate.
kind of stuff.
Grow home.
Yep, I know.
Get that in Assassin's
Best
Creed.
Assassin's Creed game ever.
Yeah.
Grow home.
Totally. Best
It
Assassin's
is,
Creed game that's certainly last year's best Assassin's
Yep.
Creed. Well, if you ask me anyway. Yeah, Grow Home is great. I'd love to see more of that or get that technology into Assassin's Creed. That'll be absolutely brilliant. That's what we think Ubisoft's going to show off. Watch Dogs 2, For Honor, Wildlands, a new IP, a bunch of VR stuff, maybe a little nod to Assassin's Creed and perhaps a Prince of Persia. Let us know what you would like to see in the comments below and hit that subscribe button for more E3 rumors here on GameSpot.com. Rob,
Hello.
I'm going to make you stick around for one more.
Okay, that's fine. What are we going to do?
The Electronic Triple is on next week. And what would the Electronic Triple be without some electronic artists?
Nice.
Some craftsmen.
That was nice.
Craftsmen and women who make sports games
Yeah.
and Battlefield and a bunch of other stuff. Let's talk about EA. Actually, first of all, let's not talk about their staples. Let's talk about a game that we haven't seen in a long time, which we haven't seen much of at all. We got a little bit of a tease of it last year. Mass Effect Andromeda.
Holy
We've actually seen more of
damn.
it than EA would probably like us to see,
Yes, that's true.
considering that leak.
Recently it was like a graphics
An artist's
test or
website.
something.
Like
Yeah.
a YouTube video
Yeah,
of like
just a
some-
rogue YouTube video of Mass Effect Andromeda,
Yeah.
kind of like gameplay stuff, and yeah, it looks.
I didn't realize how excited I was for Mass Effect Andromeda until I saw that small video clip. Just seeing a Krogan again,
Right.
I love Mass Effect. I love that universe. I love the characters. I love the writing, and just returning back to that series is going to be awesome. I think.
I think the most interesting thing part of it is the way they're so adamant that they're cutting ties with the original trilogy.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
makes me excited.
That's so
and,
assuring, isn't
and it gives me confidence in that
Yeah.
they know what they're doing. Like a lot of series that go on for this long, they rely on using some of the nostalgia and the existing love for
Yeah.
a franchise.
Or they
Right.
or they even
Yeah.
connected themselves in a tiny way, which is even too much. Like
Yeah.
I think of Gears of War 4, I'm like, you don't really need to have this be Marcus Phoenix's
Exactly.
son
That's
of that.
absolutely it.
Just
Yeah.
like let's draw a line in the
Yeah.
sand here. you
Yeah,
know?
And
too
the fact-
afraid to cut the ties completely.
Totally.
Whereas this game, Andromeda, it feels like they're ready to start again, start
Yeah.
afresh, and maybe this is the start of a brand new trilogy as well.
Yeah,
actually.
I reckon it definitely will be, considering how successful Mass Effect has been so far. But
Yeah.
like the idea of new races, new planets, and kind of like the technology, what it allows us to do now they're bringing back vehicles, which is
Right.
awesome,
Yeah.
and like traveling from spaceship to on a planet and
Yeah.
kind of not having any loading times, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just really fascinating, and even conceptually, like BioWare are amazing in creating these cool ideas, like the Pathfinder. That's what you are. And before you were the Shepherd, now you're the Pathfinder, and your whole goal is to find somewhere for.
Yeah, they
something
dance with
confirmed.
that space opera stuff really well.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Has the Pathfinder thing been confirmed? Is that
I
the
think
actual
that's
story?
pretty much. Yeah, I think it's either has been confirmed, but there's so much stuff about like artwork that has come out with
Right.
Pathfinder.jpg
Right,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. So it's like, you know,
Pathfinder
That's-
Hero.npg.
Yeah, that's just
Pathfinder.
gaff messing with you, man.
I love doing that.
Yeah, and if Andromeda's and I mean, it's probably not coming out anytime soon, but in the meantime, you can always check out Mary Kish and Rob Handler's sick video of the Mass Effect ride,
Yeah.
which they went
Oh my
to
goodness.
a couple of weeks ago. 4D. It's got all the D. Too much D for you to take. Let's talk about first-person shooters. Battlefield. The first Battlefield.
Battlefield 1.
Tell you what, that was a weird week. Call of Duty Infinite
Oh,
Warfare
man.
came
I
out. They were
know,
like, whoa,
right?
we're in space.
People
and
were
we're
like-
like, we're on the opposite side of space. We're in the fucking trenches. We're not worried about space right now. We're worried about the flu killing half of
And
Europe.
trench foot.
And I love
Right?
that. I love that they were like, "Oh yeah, Infinite Warfare," and the entire gaming community went, "Ha, that's a dumb name. You cannot get a more dumber name." And then we're like, Battlefield 1. How about that? I mean, we've got an entire series, and the entire industry was like, "No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
that makes perfect
do
sense." Down with Call of Duty.
So the fact that like I have never seen I have, but like in modern times, in the past couple of years, I have not seen people tear apart a trailer like they did Battlefield 1. They were like data mining it.
Yeah.
There were history YouTube channels which don't talk about games taking this thing and doing a piece by piece deconstruction of like Bedouin tribes and what the German soldiers wore on what fronts and all this sort of stuff. I mean, I haven't seen this much hype behind a Battlefield game in a long time.
Interestingly, those videos that deconstructed the trailers were fascinating videos as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
And maybe it's
It's amazing.
Maybe it's because World War One is inherently really interesting.
Yeah.
As a subject matter, something that actually happened.
Totally.
Sure. Like,
And it's also one that it's not like Saving Private Ryan. It's not like Band of Brothers. It's not like we had grandparents involved. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that touch. Like the First World War feels like an alien thing that happened. And it also was like something that not a lot of people talk about because quite frankly, it was possibly the worst war that ever. It was horrific amounts of civilian casualties all over the world. Redrew the lines of Europe and which have basically not been redrawn much since because it was such a shocking event. I mean, what's going to be interesting about Battlefield 1 is we know DICE are able to make war games, but are they able to make single player stories which like do a good job of touching on what is an unbelievably
That's the
tragic
question.
human event?
That is the acid test for them. And I don't think they've ever achieved that when it
No.
comes to single player.
No.
I know they're a great multiplayer studio, but they haven't quite done it when it comes to single player campaigns.
Yeah,
So
Battlefield 3 and 4 were sort of the bombastic movie stuff. Most people didn't like them too much. I was a decent fan of 3. 4 was kind of fine. I mean, Bad Company was really good, but Bad Company was so much of a like comedy game.
Yeah.
It was on the opposite side. I mean, there was moments of sincerity there, but it's gonna be very interesting.
I mean, but EA as a company, as a publisher and developer wider, it's kind of filling itself with a lot of talent that, while not directly related to Battlefield, like has a lot of storytelling chops. Like they're working on stuff like Star Wars and stuff like that.
Right.
But like they could use that talent to bolster their storytelling abilities somewhat. Whether they do that is who knows. But like the thing that's really interesting is like the story of its pitching and like the way DICE had to convince the people
really?
in charge that this is something you should be doing. And we had a story recently about kind of executive believing, like the worry was people might not think that World War One actually happened.
Right.
So like the youth right now
Just
Oh my
would be
God.
aren't
totally
aware.
disconnected
As
from
in
it.
they started with 2.
Yeah, they in the same way that people believe Titanic is a movie
Right.
and not
Right,
a
I
thing that
understand.
actually
Happened.
happened.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really, really, really cynical right now, but my suspicion is that the big heads at EA thought, well, Titanfall 2 is futuristic
Yeah,
first-person war. We can't have 2 futuristic first-person war games.
Launching at the same
Launching at
time
the same time.
against another futuristic war game.
Precisely,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So
they
let-
have to go the opposite direction.
So let's talk about Titanfall 2 then. Vince Ampella's second bite at the cherry. That first game, Respawn's first game, was a really great little game. Like very interesting movement mechanics, new types of multiplayer. There's sort of 2 levels of battle happening at the same time. It did suffer quite a fall off though in terms of
Such a
playability.
shame.
Yeah,
Such a
Like,
shame.
6 weeks into that, a lot of people were done with it.
Fell off a cliff, didn't it,
Yeah.
after 6 weeks?
Yeah.
And I was so upset about that because, I mean, I got over it, but but
Like 5 minutes ago.
yeah, I was fine after that. No, it's. I thought it was a fantastic game. My
Yeah.
goodness. I thought it was going to be huge. I really thought it was.
But the one thing people wanted out of that game
Single player.
was single player.
Yeah.
Campaign multiplayer, perhaps just a byproduct of a small team trying to make a big solid first person shooter. But What do you think about it?
There's something about that just really strange, the request. Because at the same time, this is the team that created Call of Duty and the modern Call of Duty tablet as we know it.
Yeah.
And every time you speak to someone about Call of Duty, they're like, oh yeah, I don't really care about the campaign. I just go straight into multiplayer.
Well, some people do, but I feel like a lot of other people.
Yeah, and over
Say
time,
the
like,
opposite.
less and less. Like even I was someone who started off as only playing the kind of campaign.
Yeah.
It was like I'm on campaign first, and then I'll go into multiplayer. Now I just go straight into multiplayer. But then like Titanfall comes along, and it's just a multiplayer game.
Yes.
Exactly what everyone seemed like they wanted.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, where's the single player?
But do you know why people went straight to the multiplayer? Because the campaigns got shit.
yeah, true.
Black Ops 1 was good. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was good. Modern Warfare 2 was okay. Black Ops 2 was, and then we got into like the Kevin Spacey stuff, and then it just became such an also-ran
Sure.
in a game that had like a solid multiplayer game.
There's a really strange contradiction with game sale data, which shows that games that have a single player component sell better
Yeah.
than games with just multiplayer. But there's also metrics which show that when people buy these games, they just play multiplayer.
Yeah.
So
It's like the idea of having more content. Like you
Right.
feel like you're getting more for your money up front, even if you won't play. Like the idea that maybe I'll play the single player is enough for you to be like,
That's
yeah,
really
I'll pay
interesting.
£40 or $40 for it. I think the Titanfall issue for me wasn't necessarily single player. It was just like it didn't have enough content. It was almost refined too much. Like they had like 2 or 3 pistols, and by the time you play like 5 or 6 hours of it, and you can see like the top off point on leveling up, unlocking stuff, and there just weren't enough mech variety and that kind of stuff.
I think it might be deeper stuff. I think people like stories, they like universes, they like to be emotionally invest themselves in these worlds that they play in. And if you just show them arenas with giant robots and men jumping around the place, it's not,
And women.
it doesn't grab you.
In Titanfall as well, which was
and the
great.
thing is, like a lot of that stuff, it wants if as someone who's an anime nerd and loves robot nerds, I'm like, tell me more about how this dude is summoning a robot from the sky. I need to know about this.
It's so cool.
So like, and that's part of it.
It's a good problem for them to have.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
People are more invested than they expected.
And
so that's
obviously,
pretty
these
cool.
guys they have grown exponentially. They're working on a Star Wars game at the same time.
Totally.
So they've got the team and the money to
we
create
had a
something
massive
big.
argument about that, didn't we? Because I think it's a sign of things not going so well for them.
I think it's a sign
Right.
of them like being like, yeah, we're on it. We got this.
yeah.
Like-
You could cut that one either way. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe they needed a cushion in case Titanfall
Sure.
2 doesn't work. I guess we'll find out. Also coming multi-platform as well, so PlayStation fans can get their hands on that one. Let's talk about sports. There'll be a new sports game, FIFA Sports. Right? There'll be a new NHL. Well, we know that's coming soon. I think they're showing that one off.
Yeah.
We need FIFA.
FIFA, we need
Frostbite
Madden.
engine.
Frostbite at FIFA.
Yeah.
I
know
mean,
it's-
Fox. They were using Pro Ev was using bloody Metal Gear Solid 5
True.
engine for a while there. They'll show off all that stuff. I mean, there's not much.
Just bring back NBA Jam, for God's sake.
They've done that.
Do it again.
I know,
No,
That last NBA Jam was okay.
get Donald Trump and Hillary in there this time.
Yes.
Get it
EA
done.
Sports games, I know they're not interesting to talk about, and I know they're not trending as sexy topics, but like they're amazingly successful.
They just sell it. They sell an absolute
They
shed load.
sell like 4 or 5 million every year.
Can I tell you
Imagine
though?
doing that.
I've bought PES and FIFA every year. I
Yeah.
haven't played FIFA since Rocket League came out.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
So there you that's
Rocket
yeah.
All I'm
League
gonna
will
say is-
destroy the world.
Yeah.
SSX Tricky too.
Okay, that wouldn't be too bad.
Bring it back.
I guess that
Let's
does
do
it.
this.
Let's move on a little bit here. Haze Light, the folks who made is it the Brothers, A Tale of Two?
Yeah,
Brothers,
yeah.
I forget that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds-
they released some sort of game last year. There was a little bit of a trailer for it. They barely
Oh,
showed it
yeah.
off. Remember, there was like a
Forgot
dev
about
diary
that.
which lasted forever.
Wasn't
Yeah.
some dude on a train?
Yes, that was
Yeah.
it. It was a dude
That
on a
was it,
train.
yeah.
Dude on a
Hobo
train.
Simulator 2016. I don't know.
I am okay with that.
Yeah, so
Put it
maybe
in
we'll see
VR mode.
that. We also don't know much about the sort of the visceral mode of Star Wars game.
Oh my goodness.
Jade
Yeah.
Raymond, Amy Hennig working on, Jade Raymond of Assassin's Creed fame,
Creed
basically herself and Patrice
Yeah.
Désilets made Assassin's Creed, and you have Amy Hennig, who is one of the founding workers on the incredible Uncharted series. Both of those coming over. There's word that maybe they mightn't show much of it, but they'll just do like a
Yeah.
paper announcement so they can get more people to come to the studio to work on it.
Well, I don't want to overhype people, but the planets have aligned for that game.
Yeah.
Totally, right?
Like
And,
that could be like the greatest thing. of
And the
all time.
fact that they got Amy Hennig, who
Yeah.
helped make Uncharted, and there's this bounty hunter game that Lucas canned that everyone really wants. Yeah, Star Wars. What was it called? 17,
17,
13.
13.
That's like. I imagine EA went, look, everyone is going mad over this thing.
Yeah.
Let's grab her and get to work.
Jade Mayman took a bit of a sabbatical from games development as well. I mean, herself and Patrice made one of the most enduring third-person action games of recent memory. So, I mean, that's really exciting as well.
I think it depends how much freedom Disney and Lucasfilm gives the team. You know, if they give them enough freedom, if they give Amy enough freedom to do her own thing within the Star Wars universe, it could be amazing.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. There you go. You know, Ubisoft, they were showing off some stuff. EA also got a bunch of interesting things showing off at this year's E3. Let us know which ones you're most excited about in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button for more E3 rumors right here on GameSpot.com. Robert Crossley, Timur Hussein, a pleasure as ever, friends.
Pleasure.
You guys go out and write up some more hot news.
On it.
We're going to swap it out here. We're going to get a bunch of folks you might know about. One whose face you see a lot on the site, one whose name you see a lot on the site. For our last two sections here on what has been a monster episode of the lobby, shout out to Richard Lee behind me here with the Steadicam, who's been doing it now for 90 minutes. How you feeling, bro? He's tired. We're gonna wrap it up pretty soon, don't worry. Mary, Jean-Luc and Eric in the back as well, helping put it together. Okay, we're here. We want to talk about video games. What up? Jess McDonald, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Great to have you here. How are you enjoying the Bay Area?
I am enjoying it very much. I like San Francisco.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
It's nice.
Yeah, and here's Eddie McCoo.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Great to be here.
The man who makes half of the traffic on GameSpot.
That's not accurate.
Our news sleuth. If there's anyone better to have on about rumors, it's you. And if there's anyone better to have on about talking about the news, it's you. So let's dive straight into it.
I think both of those are Eddie, but I'm going to take the compliment.
Let's jump into Take-Two. Take-Two, I mean, some of their studios, or some of the studios underneath them do sort of announce stuff at E3 pretty regularly. Some of them don't. So you're talking about 2K, you're talking about Rockstar, you're talking about Firaxis. So let's, I guess, talk about one of the main sort of rumors we're seeing at the moment, which is Red Dead Redemption, a remastered version of that. Eddie, where are these rumors coming from?
Well, that was one of my favorite games of the last gen. Definitely something that I'm super looking forward to. The rumors have been pretty shaky at this point, like nothing official. In addition to the remastered rumors, there's rumors of Red Dead Redemption 2 that could tie into Mafia 3 with its New Orleans setting, even though it's poised to be a prequel, according to the reports. But everything is looking pretty shaky at this point. And Rockstar doesn't typically announce things at E3 in the past. They have worked with Sony like 2 years ago to announce GTA 5 for current gen. But that one seems not so solid.
Right. Yeah. I mean, GTA 5, they did their own live stream thing. Like Rockstar can do that. Time for a new Red Dead, Jess?
God, it just seems so logical, doesn't it? I mean, it's still sitting at like number 3 backwards compatible, like most requested. And like, yeah, that'd be great. I think that'd be awesome if they're not remastering it. But as a PC gamer, I actually missed Red Dead.
Right.
And I would love to see it come to PC. I actually was researching this earlier today. There is just a subreddit dedicated to please bring Red Dead to PC.
It's interesting. I totally forgot about that. Whenever I'm looking for like graphics for like thumbnails or whatever, and I type Red Dead Redemption in, one of the first things that comes up is PC. And it's literally just form threads.
Yeah.
So
that's the main thing. Like, I would love a remastered version because I just love to see it come to PC.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, a sequel would be better, and that's what everyone's really excited for. And then I think if we got a sequel, it'd be strange if they not package it with a remaster.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the sort of thing at the moment.
I think the other element there too is we were on a Take-Two earnings call a couple weeks ago, and they've said they have not modeled in any Rockstar properties for their current fiscal year. So I mean that doesn't mean it won't get announced. Or might get but it won't be out until April 2017 at the very earliest.
Okay,
if it does happen.
That's not too far away though.
No.
It could still happen.
I
don't know.
We've waited 6 years. What's one more? You talked about it briefly, being made actually just north of here in the Bay Area, Mafia 3. Very interesting game. Sort of interesting subject matter, interesting protagonist. I mean, very much a big shift from what the Mafia games are about, predominantly about the Mafia, or like taking control of the Mafia. New Orleans as well, wonderful sort of iconic city to put it on. What do you think we're going to see of this? I mean, I feel like they've shown off quite a lot, but there's not that much hype around Mafia 3 at the moment.
Yeah, this one seems to be kind of flying under the radar, and maybe that's because it hasn't really, people obviously haven't gotten hands-on yet. People don't really know They don't have a great grasp for it yet, which I think is why E3 could be a really big show for it if they really emphasize it more. And like the setting, 1968 in New Orleans with the protagonist, you have the mixed race character, and then the soundtrack for me is what I'm really looking forward to, because I love classic rock, and it's got Paint It Black, House of the Rising Sun, just like a number of great songs.
Awesome. One of the great things about video games, especially I guess open world games, is their ability to transport you to a new place. I remember being in England and Ireland and loving GTA because it was like, oh man, I'm in California, right? You must feel the same way, Jess, right?
The Division felt like that for me.
Right.
I was like, because I'd just been to New York for the first and only time last year, and I was like, God, this is just okay, like a little post-apocalyptic, but still very much New York. I think like the setting for Mafia 3 does sound absolutely fascinating. I am wondering if it's going to have kind of the same sort of issue that you guys were talking about with Battlefield 1, where they appear to be dealing with very heavy subject matter.
Yeah.
Like they want to talk about like one of the most racially tense times in like America's like recent history. And it's like, I wonder how that's going to jive with Mafia gameplay.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the type of thing you need to sort of do properly or don't do at all, right?
That they're thinking about it though. Yeah. Like I like it when games take the leap to try and like take on a controversial theme as opposed to, dealing with things that are more palatable.
Yeah.
So
perhaps Watch Dogs 2 doing the same thing as well. We were talking about it earlier, so it'd be very interesting.
With the creative director too on Mafia 3, Hayden Blackman, comes from the Star Wars legacy. He had an interview, or Peter has a great interview on GameSpot.com where they talk about that, the whole that time period, and they're not just going there for the sake of going there. They're trying to say something, and they're trying to say it smartly too.
Let's talk about Firaxis Civilizations 6,
something like that. Yeah, it's one of those.
It's one of
those. We're that's going to be. I guess I haven't seen much of that. We saw like a trailer, right?
Right, and it's coming out in October too, which is very, very soon. One more turn. People love that franchise. I was just looking up numbers. 33 million units sold throughout the whole franchise, 8 million for Civ 5. So, I mean, there's a huge install base there. People are definitely interested.
It's a weird little sort of, it's like strategy games as well. There's like this tiny group of people. Well, not tiny. There's this silent majority of people who play these games. I was looking at like Steam Spy statistics for Total Warhammer, which is like sold an absolute shitload.
Yeah, you had Dave on here before. He loves that series.
Right.
Yeah.
It sold like, I think in a week, it had 2 weeks on Battleborn and sold 6 times as many copies. So, I mean, that's probably a different story about Battleborn. But, like, that's going to be incredible. Obviously, people are very happy to see more of Civ 6, especially some actual gameplay, since all we saw was this sort of stylistic trailer you're looking at now. Let's talk about another one which may or may not be on the table for 2K and Take-Two. Ken Levine's new game. What is he working on? You're on that side of the world.
Yeah, so he's out in Boston. That's right around where I am too. And he's been talking about how this game's going to have a semi-open world, which I mean, he just talks in all these kind of vague terms. But if there's anyone you can trust, I would, to pull off a vision. He has the pedigree, he has the history of BioShock. Everybody loves that, obviously. But unfortunately, we really don't know much about it. But E3, could be a place where they start to talk about it.
Thrown around some odd ways of describing this game.
Right.
Like saying people don't really want the BioShock type, like really story heavy linear experience anymore, which I don't really agree with.
Yeah.
I love that kind of experience, but he said like he really wants to focus on replayability and stuff.
Right.
But he says that. He's like, I really want it to be replayable, but we still need to really make a story game, and we really care about story.
Yeah, and it's also open world.
And it's also open world. And he's called it like, it's like, we're going to have narrative puzzle pieces so you can work them together in different ways. So then it's like, is that making choices, or is that I don't know.
And we also don't know too much about the team he's working with. I know when Irrational split up, he said it was him and like a handful, like a small group of people that stayed on. So what is the scale here? Is he bringing on outside people to work with? I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions.
Hopefully we'll see some of them answered at E3. Let's also talk about Gearbox. I mean, Battleborn has not worked out. Like, it's sold 150,000 on PC or something less. Yeah, I mean, bad timing at Overwatch, you got to say, but also just didn't really grasp people's attention. I mean, it's the concurrent player numbers at the moment, which are like floating again, Steam Spy, but it looks like it's around like 2,000 a day, like 1,500 a day. It's pretty poor.
It is, and it seems that way. I mean, we were on that same Take-Two earnings call, and the CEO was saying that it's too soon to say, because there was some comments from, I think, the creative director, Randy Varnell, who said it's off to a pretty decent start, which is kind of what Borderlands had. And Borderlands was kind of a slow burner back in the day. It didn't start off as this, giant mega hit, but over time it became that. And he said, okay, what's good we might be on that path, but it's too soon to say at this point. But the one kind of redeeming thing about it potentially is they said at a PAX East panel that its DLC is going to have hints at Borderlands 3, so people might play it for that reason.
There you go. God. I mean, like a new Borderlands is pretty likely. Maybe some, that extra Battleborn DLC. We'll see. I was interviewing Randy Pitchford at, I forget where it was. I think it might have been PAX last year, and I talked to him about Brothers in Arms, and he said very much that they were going to get back into it, and it seemed like he wanted to do it pretty soon. That could be another. I mean, I'd love to see another one of those. Hell's Highway is a fantastic game.
When they came out with, what was it, 2013 or 20? I forget what year it was when they had the Brothers in Arms, the Furious 4.
Right.
Quentin Tarantino kind of inspired, over the top, killing Nazis, things like that. I was kind of into that hook, but they scuttled that, and they said we're gonna kind of reboot that, come back with something new, and they haven't really given much about that. But that's definitely one of the games that I'm looking forward to.
They've always been a team that worked on a couple of games, so I'm sure they've got a couple down their sleeves. Any fans of Evolve at the table?
We went in to play Evolve before it came out. Me, Dan Hines, who used to work here, Zareen, and Ed. And we had the best time.
Right.
It was us and my good friend from CNET against other games journos. And it was so much fun, being able to fill certain roles and stuff. And it relies so heavily on you working together and just being a good team.
Communication.
You can't just be a good player, you have to be a good team. And I think there were really promising elements there that just didn't end up working together. Yeah. And it also it always felt like the same match in the same game. Which was probably, something that Overwatch isn't running into, because there's just so many different shoes you can fill and different ways you can approach it. And it's a completely different game depending on the heroes. I still think Evolve 2 is going to happen. I would be surprised if they don't.
It's weird. I wonder how did it sell? Chris Waters feels the same way as you. And I remember Mary and a couple of other folks in the office here really enjoy playing together. It just, unlike Left 4 Dead 2, in which you could play with random people and have a fun time, it was so irritating and the games were so long.
It sold multiple millions of copies.
It did?
It did.
Yeah. Really?
It did. And the potentially more unbelievable thing is Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of Take-Two, had called it a permanent franchise along with Red Dead and GTA. So it's something that they're committed to. And they've also said, he suggested that the first game might have been too multiplayer centric, and he wanted to put in a little more single player in the next one, just a little more exposition for the story and where you are and things like that.
It's a sweet concept. I mean, being with a little crew and taking on a huge, piss off monster.
Picture of Strauss Zelnick.
Holy crap.
Nice.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's just a shame. It's one of those things that was just a really cool idea, and it's a real pity.
You know what? Turtle Rock probably deserve a second bite at that cherry anyway, so we wouldn't take it away from them. And then last thing I guess to talk about with Take-Two is question mark, new Rockstar IP.
It could happen. It could happen. I mean, if you don't count, I was just going to say Agent. So they renewed that trademark fairly recently, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. They're just holding their rights over it.
Which doesn't cost them any money,
right? And it creates another news cycle around it.
Exactly. Good for you guys.
Very true. I think people are just going to be mad bummed if they don't see Red Dead. Everyone just wants to see Red Dead.
Too quick for a new GTA at this stage.
They've said they're working on. Rockstar has multiple unannounced new IP in development, and they haven't even teased out anything about that. I mean, Rockstar is usually very, very tight-lipped about those kind of things, and they make their own announcements. And E3 is not typically the stage for Rockstar, but I mean, anything's possible.
New Warriors, new Bully.
A new Bully would be great.
Right?
A new Bully would be excellent. Set in a New England boarding school, so I can relate. I didn't go to boarding school, but I grew up in New England.
Yeah.
That'd be good stuff. There you go. That's all the Take-Two, and it's very many subsidiaries have maybe up their sleeves. Let us know what you think. They're going to announce and what you'd like to see in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button for more of our hot rumors. We're almost done. It's a rally. Richard Lee behind me, almost collapsing. He's doing a great job. Great job, buddy.
He's been standing the whole time.
Yeah. He's
incredible.
He's a monster.
That's good.
Marion, I love it when we're getting semi-transparent Strauss Zelnick on the screen. We know that the guys in the back are getting a bit weary. So let's wrap this one up.
Yeah.
E3. Big stage for people to announce video games. One of the biggest publishers in the world of video games is Activision. So let's talk about what they may or may not be showing off Let's talk about what they may be showing off first. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. I'm guessing we're going to see that, Jess.
Probably see it. Yeah. Eddie and I were just talking about it. And obviously, we've always got Battlefield versus Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And I think it's really funny just how sort of disconnect between the people who make games and the people who play games. With like, you guys already talked about it, like how worried EA are that like, the historical setting is not something that gamers want to see. And then it was exactly what gamers want to see.
Yeah.
But I think, obviously they're just really aware of the fact that Call of Duty is doing sci-fi and they've got the future. And it's interesting to me, there is Call of Duty fatigue, which I think has contributed to how much people are hating on that announcement and that
and there is
trailer.
just like there's a mob who's
People
out for
are
COD in a way that...
Oh, they absolutely are. But it's kind of like, the thing is, at the end of the day, they can make a really great game. They have to take advantage of that setting, though. And they have to take advantage of the stuff that EA is afraid of, which is you can do cool shit with the future that Battlefield are not going to be able to do. Don't get me wrong, all the World War I stuff is going to be amazing. That's going to be a really cool setting. But, if they get the right team together, if they have the right like creative vision, they can come up with like a brand new combat mechanics and all kinds of shit that's going to be awesome.
I mean, contemporary war stories were never good for the longest time, and then Call of Duty 4 came out. Like with the right people on it, you can get it done.
And speaking of that, they've actually hired, after the big exodus at Infinity Ward, they hired some Naughty Dog people who came in who are going to be writing the story, which is exciting to think about. We don't know how it's going to be executed yet, but that's definitely one of the things I'm looking forward to. And then just space dogfights. I mean, you've never been able to do that really in Call of Duty, which seems really exciting too. And there's going to be maps on different planets. So,
I mean, and if Jess says like, as she said, like if you take advantage of that, if you have like 0G gunfights, which are weird, and like just like if you just say like it's a first-person shooter with the trappings of space, it's probably not going to be enough.
It needs to be more than COD in space. That's it. It needs to like really own this concept.
Yeah. So how are sales going for Call of Duty, Eddie? Because like it's so hard to tell, right? Because they seem to be selling really well every year. We're hearing that there's this plateau and a dip in recent years. Is that the case?
It's tricky because a Black Ops series is typically their number one franchise overall. So I mean, there's peaks and valleys every time they come out. But Infinity Ward is obviously one of the most one of the most respected, and they created Modern Warfare, obviously. So, there are high hopes for this one, certainly. And it's the first one, as of yet, they haven't announced support for last-gen consoles, too. So we don't know if that could, free them up to do more things, that, if they didn't have to think about last-gen, too. So
fingers crossed.
Right.
Yeah. Let's jump into another big game for them, World of Warcraft, Legion. That's a thing that's coming out.
That is a thing.
That's a game.
Any WoW players here? I used to play WoW.
I played WoW a lot, but not recently. I usually get drawn back when the expansions come out. I don't know if it'll be the case this time.
Oh, really?
But I'm definitely. I'm looking forward to it. There's a chance that I'll go back. In terms of subscriber numbers, though, every time there's a dip. Before every new expansion comes out, and right now they are at a 9-year low, so they really need this one to kick in and really bring more people like myself back.
Everyone I know who plays WoW plays it in waves. Like they pick it up for a month or two when the expansion comes out, and then subscription is cancelled again when they remember to cancel it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe they got to push off the movie. I don't know. It's been getting weird reviews at the moment.
Yeah, there's a promotion going on too, where certain theaters will give you the game and all the expansions if you go buy a movie ticket. So
what was all of the expansions?
Well, all the expansions now are actually free as of like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. But
really,
you still gotta subscribe.
They want people back in.
Right.
Yeah.
God, I'd be so butthurt if I bought them all in anticipation of.
When you think about it's still obviously the number one paid MMO on the market. No one's even close.
Yeah.
It's they're the genre defining MMO. They've been out for 10 years. But seems like we're at a point of crossroads here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of their more successful new jaunts into the world of multiplayer gaming, Destiny. Rise of Iron is a rumor we have seen. We've seen pretty decent screenshot images, of I guess media, promotional images, not actual gameplay. Do you think we're going to see that this year? Presumably. They've talked about how they expect to fall off, and Bungie say that whenever we release a new one of these, it gets them all back on. That's the most important thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be an announcement event this coming Thursday where they're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what's next for Destiny, which the big, the point is to Rise of Iron. But whether or not, and they've said that, or the rumor is that it's going to be larger, more substantial than House of Wolves. And the previous expansion of the Dark Below. So there's a lot riding on it though too.
Cool.
I wonder if that's paving the way for them to do Destiny 2 at E3. My original thought is that it's too soon because they're going to want all the focus to be on their, massive latest expansion and people picking that up, not thinking about the next game.
Yeah, for sure.
But the fact that they're announcing it in advance, and we're probably going to hear a lot about the next expansion on Thursday. They haven't said it's going to be the next expansion, but it's a good guess. But yeah, I wonder what they're going to pull out at E3. It seems like a strange time to decide to talk about it.
Yeah.
Just ahead of E3.
You're right, though. There has to be a reason, right?
Yeah.
And if that's the reason, then that seems like an odd reason.
Because either they're not really going to say anything, so they can say more at E3, in which case, why hold it on Thursday?
Right.
Or they're doing it so then they can do a little Destiny 2 teaser or something.
What if
or
they just
go well into it?
What if on Thursday just announced Destiny for PC?
Oh gosh.
Destiny.
Yes.
There you go.
I mean, they have Eric Hirschberg, the CEO of Activision Publishing, was in an interview and he said, Destiny is a good fit on paper for PC. You know, everything sets up well. It's just. And I don't know why they wouldn't do it. I mean, all their other franchises are there.
Yeah.
Most of them.
It is weird.
Yeah. It's one of these things you kind of forget about. Oh yeah, it's like Red Dead.
Yeah.
You think it's such an obvious fit, so why wouldn't they do it?
If you say it enough, it'll happen. So we'll just
we've been saying Red Dead for a while.
We'll try.
Let's look at. Looking at the rest of Activision's IPs, it is a big list of ifs, buts, and maybes. I mean, I can't see another Tony Hawk getting done.
I'm curious to know about what might happen with Guitar Hero.
Right,
They've
totally.
said sales have fallen, they were below what they wanted, which it's not necessarily a death knell for it because maybe they had predicted too high. But at the same time, I've been playing the new Guitar Hero, and the new guitar is quite a leap from what it was, and it's not as easy to get into, which I thought was the whole appeal of Guitar Hero, was that anybody can pick up and play it and be a living room rock star, but it's kind of tricky this time.
I feel like it's also, we grew up with that kind of guitar, that I'm used to, and it's just getting used to buttons that are next to each other and then down the fret is why?
Are we old dogs with new tricks already?
Oh gosh,
that's depressing.
We're just old. That's the problem.
What about Skylanders? I mean, Disney Infinity's fallen by the wayside. That space got real busy.
It's gotta help.
I mean, I think it has to help, right? Because with all the different players that were in there, that market just didn't grow big enough to accommodate them all, and something had to give. I guess it wasn't enough for Disney.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to keep going with Skylanders?
They've announced a new one coming this year. Yeah. The very last one didn't perform as well as they wanted.
Giants, was
officially.
It? Oh no, Giants.
Superchargers.
Giants a couple of years ago, actually. God.
So there's a number of, I was just in a Target retail store, and they have...
see Chris Waters?
I hear him, I know he's there, and yet it still surprises me every time.
It's like Santa Claus.
But I
Sorry.
I'm not counting that out. I mean, obviously, Randy is a big Skylanders fan himself, and he always talks about how, that franchise has more appeal than maybe people are, talking about it. I mean, it's... something that I wouldn't bet against.
Yeah. There you go. Well, anything else you can think of Activision-wise?
Activision is just going to do Activision.
Well, they don't have a booth at E3 this year, which is interesting.
Of course, yeah.
And they've said, elected to partner with Sony for Call of Duty. Whether or not it shows up at their booth or, presumably it'll be at their stage show, on Monday.
All right. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Not too much longer, though. TikTok. E3's a coming. Make sure you check out GameSpot for all the latest E3 news throughout the week. We've also got 2 crazy stage shows. Downstairs, we've got the co-op stage with our friends at Screw Attack and Kind of Funny Live. And look at this lovely picture just appearing on my...
Bobby Kotick.
God almighty. It's my annual check-in with Dr. Bobby. Looking forward to that. We've got a great stage show downstairs. A wonderful trailer Rob Handler put together up on the site and on YouTube as well, I'm pretty sure, by this stage. And then upstairs we were doing game demos for 3 days straight. Myself, Jess, and Lucy are going to be manning that one, so that'll be great. We've also got a wonderful set of interviews with various developers, which should be great to listen into, so make sure you check that out. Thank you so much to Richard Lee for holding on to that goddamn Steadicam for almost 2 hours. Monster podcast today, produced by Mary Kish in the back, Jean-Luc Seipke, Eric Tay, and a bunch of other people. Thank you so much, all of our guests, for coming on today, including you wonderful international/East Coast folk.
Thank you, Danny.
Much obliged. And thank you for listening on your podcast machines. We will not be here next week. Electronic Triple is happening. There will be nothing on this feed either, so if you want to check out some of the stuff that's going on at E3 via GameSpot, make sure you go to GameSpot.com or YouTube.com/GameSpot. We're also streaming all next week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, let's get out of here. We got a truck to pack up. Adios. See you in 2 weeks' time here in the lobby. See you next week for the biggest week in video games. Take care. See you then. Woohoo!